Hello, my fellow movie fans, and welcome to another episode of A Feast of Films Theatre with your hosts, Ethan R. Hill, Matthew Ayalew, and Jesse Prosser. Yeah, just like that, right?
Oh, classic.
That was my line, yeah.
Ooh.
Whoa, you're fired. What's going on, my fellow movie fans, and welcome to another episode of A Feast of Films. This is episode 50. Technically, it's probably like episode 75, 78, maybe
50?
300. I don't know, but it's episode 50 today. And I'm your host, Matt Ayalew, and we're going to talk about Star Wars stuff and have tons of fun. But I'm not alone. I'm with the people who I'm going to spend the next hour and a half arguing with, Ethan R. Hill and Jesse R. Prosser. And I'm Matt R. Ayalew. I forgot. We got to keep that going.
Yeah, you're Matt R. Ayalew.
Yeah.
Matt R.
Ladies like that one. What's
Matt
going on,
Raylew
guys? How
is
you
a
doing?
bad name.
Matt Raylo.
Matt Raylew.
There you go. You're the
Matt Raylew.
You're the ship name for Ray and Kylo, is what you?
No.
No.
You have Lord.
Good Lord.
Look, it's not about what we won or lost. It's about the friendships that we made along the way.
Exactly. And isn't that really what Star Wars is all about?
Exactly.
Is it? I don't,
It is.
I don't
I'm pretty
know.
sure it is.
I don't know if that is.
We're gonna-
but,
That's
like,
what this
maybe.
movie told me it was about.
We're gonna find out.
We're gonna find out how strong these bonds of friendship are today. I think this is an episode, and I'm really eager to get into this and talk about this because this is an episode I have been waiting to record since we started this podcast. And we're like, you know what, we're doing Star Wars episodes, and I was like, I can't wait to get to episode 9.
'Cause you
Year and a
love it
half
so much.
freaking later, here we are. Finally made it. I'm glad we lasted this long. Listen, if there's no other episodes after this, I'm glad we got to this episode. Hooray for us.
You
Oh,
managed to
you guys
do...
hear series finale
Yep.
according to Matt.
Yep, this is the end of Evangelion going on now.
We
Like,
get an
I'm
email
done.
from Matt tomorrow being like, "Hey guys, I quit.
Like,
Talked about Star Wars. episode
thanks, it was
9, I'm
great. I
good."
talked about episode 9. Now I'm good. My soul is
we've-
happy. I can die.
I can
I
never...
can die happy.
Feast of Films has peaked. We've jumped the shark. There's no more Skywalker saga to talk about.
Oh, but there's Rogue One.
Oh
There
boy.
is- And
we got-
Disney
we got
Plus
s-
shows, and there's tons of stuff.
We got Solo.
I've actually been
We
in-
got Mandalorian. We
Yeah,
got
but we're not talking about things we enjoyed. We're talking about
we
things
got Mandalorian. We've got
Book of Boba
Book
Fett's
of
coming
Boba
up next
Fett.
month, right? Yeah.
We got Mandalorian. We've got
More
I've been actually-
Mandalorian.
I've been
Ahsoka. Baby
I've been in a
Yoda.
mood to watch Mandalorian again.
Oh man. Why not?
I've been like in a mood of like, hey, that's a thing I could go revisit, which is nice.
It
Cause,
feels like a seasonal thing, right? At this point.
well, and like with it's nice with Star Wars to have something to feel like that again. That you're like, I really want to go back and rewatch this thing because of how it made me feel, kind of thing. Like it's haven't felt that since I was a wee lad.
Lord.
Oh, don't lie to yourself. You felt that way about episode 7.
Oh, episode 7 was amazing, so good.
It's just
I
like,
love that
it
it's
still
the
makes me
only
hurt.
Star Wars sequel that exists.
It still makes
I
me
wonder-
hurt where this trilogy went, though. Like,
I
it
wonder
really
what they're
does.
gonna do with episode 8 and 9. Too bad we'll never know because they're never gonna get made.
I mean, maybe episode 8 will have a very unique vision that will be corrupted by studio influence. I mean,
And maybe maybe it'll have a vision that's not maybe a good film, but not a good Star Wars movie.
maybe it'll be a half a great movie and half a movie where I question why they did things. Who knows?
Maybe it'll be a movie that alienates people from watching any of the other directors' films.
Maybe that's a dumb thing to say.
I agree. I agree.
Maybe it's the last movie they make for like 5 years.
Maybe the ninth movie will be. I won't like it as much as Revenge of the Sith, which I never thought I would say.
I don't know why you started talking about a 9th movie. We haven't finished roasting the 8th movie.
Oh my god! Legitimately, though, after rewatching Rise of Skywalker, I'm like, yeah, no, this fits comfortably below Revenge of the Sith for me. And Revenge of the Sith is like, it's literally was my number 3. Like it was the 3rd lowest of the Star Wars movies, and
Yeah.
now it's the 4th because I actually I like this. I like Revenge of the Sith more than Rise of Skywalker. I can comfortably
Easy.
say that.
Oh yeah, like even I'd say
Easy.
that. Like
Easy.
But for
Like-
me, that I didn't.
Now
think
the
that
question
would be
is,
a
do you
thing,
like
you
it?
know?
Did you like it more than Attack of the Clones? I feel like that's the question of the day.
I do like it more than Attack of the Clones, but that's merely because there's as much as there's not, because again, that's my least favorite Star Wars movie, and I can't rightfully say that this is as bad as Phantom Menace and Attack of the Clones.
so.
I just can't go there.
Why?
Do we want to? Do we want to? Actually, we've never talked about Prosser's ranking of Star Wars films.
I guess not. Like, well, no, I thought we did on when we talked Last Jedi. What? Because I was on the Last Jedi episode, wasn't I?
I
Yes,
don't
but I
know.
don't remember doing
Dude,
this.
I can't remember. That was
I don't
forever
remember-
ago.
Okay,
I can't
so,
remember
doing the
like
rankings, but
3
let's-
days ago, dude.
Let's refresh our rankings now that we've taught. We're at the 9th film.
Yeah.
What's the rankings so far?
First-
Prosser, you go
for
first.
specifically the Star Wars saga. All right, I'm gonna go from favorites to least favorite.
So are we including like spin-off films or?
I wasn't, but we can.
No, it's fine. Like, just go with the main 9, I guess.
I'll just go with the
Probably,
main
right?
9. Keep it simple.
Yeah.
So 5 is like episode 5 is my favorite. Empire Strikes Back, fantastic movie. Then definitely A New Hope. Then honestly, and again, I know I'm gonna get shit for this, but I actually like Force Awakens more than Return of the Jedi. So it would go. Force Awakens would be my 3rd. I know you guys like Return of the Jedi, and that's not a bad movie. It's number 4. It's number 4. It's fine.
It's actually number 6.
Go ahead. Keep going. Keep going. Keep going.
Okay,
Keep going.
so that's number 4. Then it would be The Last Jedi is my number 5. Then we would get Revenge of the Sith. Then Rise of Skywalker. Then Phantom Menace, and then Attack of the Clones. So like that's the order of those films, I would say. In my humble opinion.
Interesting.
How about you, Matt?
Ethan, you next. You next.
Why me next?
You next. You
Well,
next.
he's got a big punchline coming up. You gotta he's
No, I don't.
he's ramping it up.
So
No,
my
I
list is
don't. I just want to hear Ethan's first because I feel like ours are going to be pretty close.
my list is weird.
I mean, there's only
because,
9
like,
movies, and I think we pretty much know how the first 3 always start for the most part, minus
Well,
slight
mine goes-
deviations.
Mine goes Return, A New Hope, Force Awakens, then Empire. But they're all like neck and neck. Like that's the thing.
Yeah.
Those
No, I get you.
four-
Yeah.
Those 4 are
Those
pretty
4
damn
for me,
close.
they're like within an inch of each other, and they shift. Depends on the mood I'm in.
Yeah.
Then after Force Awakens, probably would be Revenge of the Sith. And then this is where it gets tricky. Because I like Rise of Skywalker and Last Jedi about the same.
Mm-hmm.
And I like Phantom Menace and Attack of the Clones about the same. And I like them kind of all about the same. Like, all of those films, those 4 films to me, are not great films, but they're at least Star Wars. So I
Which
can
gives
still,
it a competitive edge, yeah.
I can still
Like,
sit
in
there. I
general,
can I can still watch those last 4 as bad as Attack of the Clones gets, and be like, but it's Star Wars, and I love it, right?
There's still fun to be had watching them.
And that's how I feel about Rise of Skywalker, and that's Last Jedi is the one I'm always torn on. Like we talked about last time, where it's like I like it more because I like it as a movie, but I dislike it as a Star Wars movie because it's the least Star Warsy out of the 9. And like Rise, for all of the flaws it has, and like it has a bunch of flaws. I will never shy away from the amount of flaws that it has.
Oh boy.
It feels like Star Wars, and like especially rewatching it, I realized the best way that I can describe Rise of Skywalker is it was Star Wars in fast forward. especially that opening like half an hour to hour. It just everything's moving at such a breakneck speed that it's like, wait, what am I watching? Where am I? What happened? Where were we? We just changed this is the third seed change. And like I have explanations for all that. I have like my theories as to why it played out the way it did. But at the core it still feels like Star Wars. It just feels uncomfortable. Like it's not a comfortable movie. It's not. So yeah, Star Wars. It's like, oh yeah, it's more Star Wars. Okay, and that's how I feel about. That's how I feel about most of those. The back four of those. Then if we want, like Rogue One is like way at the end, but like
yeah.
But again, I'm excited. I'm excited to revisit Rogue One. So because I'm curious if my opinions are going to change. My opinions didn't really change on Rise of Skywalker. Like again, I like it about the same as Last Jedi. But I have strong feelings about both films.
That's fair.
But also, I just don't care.
Interesting.
I don't care.
I just don't care. Like, yeah, that's the other thing, too, is, like, I've reached a point where I'm just, like, complacent. Because it's like, well, I can just go back and watch the other Star Wars films that I do like and ignore the rest. So, like...
They betrayed me and I don't care anymore.
No, they didn't betray me. They're just, they're movies. Like, at the end of the day, they're silly sci-fi movies that are just a good time. And then there's 5 really solid ones that are better than just silly sci-fi movies. Yeah.
One may argue that Revenge of the Sith is still silly sci-fi, but it's better than the other.
It bounces between. That's what I like about Revenge of the Sith. It bounces back and forth between the it's still Star Wars and being like, oh yeah, this is great. Like it's that real.
Strong with you.
100%. Like it bounces between that.
Master's gonna have a stroke, man. Someone should check on him.
But
you should check on him.
That's why Revenge is kind of the middle of the pack for me, because it hits the both sides of that. It hits like the holy crap, this is really great Star Wars moment. Yes, this is what I love about the series. And then the other side is like, oh, well, at least it's Star Wars, right? Like,
well,
it could be worse. It could be something else.
It's all right, Matt. Let's have it. Let's hear it.
Okay. For me, best one for sure is Return of the Jedi. For me, this is the climax. This is the conclusion. This is the one where like all the heart and the emotion all just comes together, and it's freaking awesome, man. Like the best space battle in the whole series so far happened back in the 80s. Like, come on, guys, let's step up our game here.
Honestly, yeah, that I can't disagree with. It does have the best space battle of the original trilogy, easily.
Even like the new ones, it's not like the new ones never do anything overly great. Like, you have all the great technology there, but there's no like just great cinematic moments and scenes within the space battle. Even you think of Battle over Coruscant in Episode 3, like they're like, oh no, these little stupid annoying little droids are on our ship. It was just like, bro,
it's
like nothing really happened, you know?
They went for spectacle over like the raw emotion of it. Like,
yeah,
it's about how much can we. Every time they do a space battle throughout,
it's so
Star
dense.
Wars. It's like, especially again going to Rise, like the final space battle in Rise.
Oh god,
was incredibly dense. But like if you look at the major space battle that we had before that, being like. I'd say Revenge is the last major space battle that we had, because like both Last Jedi and Force Awakens had space battles, but they were like super just like and then it happened. Okay,
well a lot of them were on planet surface.
Exactly.
As well, so like
yeah.
But if you look at that opening of Revenge of the Sith, that's another really dense one, and it's like, well, it was really dense, but let's turn that density up to 11 for the final fight. And that's it's again.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know if I'd agree with that. I don't think it was so much the fact that it was dense. I think it was just the fact that it was all fluff. Like there was just nothing actually happened. Like you could have Anakin and Obi-Wan just going straight into the ship, and it wouldn't have changed a lick of. It wouldn't have made a lick of difference in that whole movie.
That's what I mean. Like it was just like it's
like it's having, not even like it's just having stuff on screen
for the sake of having it, and
it's stuffed with styrofoam peanuts for no reason.
Yeah, and there wasn't like any like space objectives they had to complete or anything like that. Anyway,
And that's what I'm saying.
Just my opinion. Like, yeah,
That's kind of the
episode 6's Space Battle is just prime. It's top notch.
yeah, because
It's
it
the
has
best
again,
it's
it
ever
has
been.
that it has that emotional weight.
Yeah. And
And
they
the
actually
other
do
ones
stuff. They have
don't.
objectives. Like there's narrative purpose to why they're there, and they're trying to do things, but they're also coming against obstacles, or they have to survive. Now the Death Star is active. Like holy shit! Like is the shield down? Like it's narratively a very impactful space battle. Like it's not just there for the show. It has a narrative purpose to what they're doing. But of course that goes with everything for a lot of the original trilogy, and especially in Return of the Jedi. Like everything is narrative, everything is emotional, everything has a purpose. Even the lightsaber fight, not the flashiest, but the heaviest, right?
Jedi Rock. Sure
Like,
had a purpose.
and Jedi Rock, F Jedi Rock, man. Fuck that.
I'm just saying that's what lowers
You know
it
what?
for me.
Goddamn, man, this movie might lose a point just from Jedi Rock, but no.
That's
I'll
why
leave
Force
it worded.
Awakens is above it. Force Awakens doesn't have Jedi
So
Rock.
Okay,
Sorry that you just hate Star Wars pop music.
Let's roll through this here. I'll roll through the
Yes.
rest quick so we can get into episode 9 because there's a lot of stuff we have to talk about for 9. Okay, so number 1, Return of the Jedi. Number 2, Empire Strikes Back. Really, really like Empire Strikes Back. They're really, really close for me. But Return of the Jedi gets the crown. Number 3, I'm gonna go with Force Awakens. I really enjoy Force Awakens, but also A New Hope. They're very close. So that's 3 and 4. They're almost tied. Tied.
Y'all gave me crap for putting Force Awakens at 3, but you all put it at 3.
No, I put
Just
it- I
with
put
different rankings.
I put Force.
Well, yeah, exactly.
No,
Just
never mind.
You all did it,
put
and
it
you gave
over
me shit
Return
for it.
because you put it over Return of the Jedi, and I was like,
Oh,
oh man,
I'm so
it ain't as good
sorry.
as Return of the
I
Jedi.
didn't give
but
you any crap at all.
and it is arguably a really good Star Wars film, and just a good film in general. It has issues, sure, but that's why it's at 3. So yeah, 3. What the hell was I talking about now?
Star Wars films.
What number was I on? What did I talk about?
3.
Right, Force
The
Awakens, and then
3.
A New Hope. Number 5, I'm going to give to The Last Jedi. I really, really enjoyed this film at the end of the day, and while it does have its weaknesses and negatives, like all the rest after this point, I feel like it was still the best and made more bold choices and more creative choices and had just a bit more like heart to it.
That's what I'm saying.
Than the other ones. Like I really, really do still like The Last Jedi.
It's half a great Star Wars movie. In my
Yeah,
opinion.
and so it belongs to be at the middle. Then after that, I'm gonna go with Return of the Sith. Revenge of the Sith, sorry, not Return of the Sith. That's the old
Yeah,
Return of the
that's
Jedi thing. Man, I'm so tired, guy. Like my brain's already dying. This is not gonna end
Rise
well.
of the Jedi.
I feel like
Return
Ethan's
of
like,
the
right, this
Sith.
conversation is not gonna go the way you think, because I'm just gonna like flat out die. Just
Reven-
mentally break down.
Revenge of the Skywalker.
Revenge of the Sky Man. Revenge of the Sith. Then I'm gonna go with Phantom Menace because I actually like Phantom Menace. I mean, it has some really stupid moments, but it's also got some really freaking great moments. And Liam Neeson, so hell's yeah to that.
Course.
And then for the final 2, see, that's the question for me. I don't fully know, but right now I'm feeling Attack of the Clones and then Rise of Skywalker. That is how much I hate not hate. No, I hate it. You know what? I do. I'm just gonna embrace it. I'm going full in. I'm not even gonna hesitate here. I'm going.
my God.
Rise of Skywalker is the last. It's last on my list for me. Listen, 2 is painful to watch. Let's be honest. 2 is painful to watch, but for very, very different reasons. It at least still has narrative purpose to it to a certain degree, and the end, the last third, is pretty solid. It's a pretty solid Star Wars movie at that point. Rise of Skywalker, I just, there is none of that movie that I can justify. Like, there's just none. Ethan, I like how you're like, it feels like Star Wars. It didn't feel like Star Wars to me. I sat there and watched it the whole time. I didn't feel like Star Wars. And I also feel like there's so many narrative issues and backtracking and like, oh, this is what the last director did. No, I'm just going to do my own thing. And obviously, no plan. Thanks a lot, Kathleen Kennedy. And like that movie was just an absolute mess. So as an absolute mess, it gets in the absolute mess pile, which is at the very bottom. Because at least Attack of the Clones had a plan. It was executed like shit. but at least it had a plan.
You have to cut off Anakin's arm.
Yeah,
That's the whole movie.
That's the only important thing that happens in that goddamn movie.
And his mom dies. That was essential.
Oh, man.
Listen.
Oh, I cared so much about
was there a
Shmi
plan?
Skywalker.
Was that movie just randomly put together? No, there was a plan. Like I said, it just wasn't executed well. Rise of Skywalker, there was no plan, and it still was executed like shit.
Also,
I could argue every movie is randomly put together.
Anyway, that's how I feel, and that's why that's why it's good to talk about this movie, because it just, I mean, like for me, it was such like an utter and complete disappointment to go to, and like it just, I don't know, like there's narrative like sins that happen that I just can't get over, man. Can't forgive.
For me, after Last Jedi, man, I had zero expectations. I was like, okay, I don't know how. Like, I think we came out of Last Jedi, and I think the first thing I said to Prosper is like, I don't know how they're gonna write themselves out of this. I have no clue where they're gonna go.
Man. There's a lot of paths to go in the Last Jedi.
Man.
Yes, there was. There was tons of freaking options to go.
I read.
It's not like, oh, what, you killed Snoke and now there's no options. Luke is dead, now there's no options.
There's no
tons
options
of narrative options. It all depends where you want to go with it. At the end of the day, there's lots of options depending if you want to do it a closer timeline, further timeline. You could take that from any point and go. The problem is they didn't say okay to Last Jedi and then created options off of that and kept going. They're just like, let's just roll back fucking 95% shit that happened in Last Jedi. And like, no, that didn't happen. How many scenes of Rise of Skywalker did we get that were damn near identical to Last Jedi? But it's like, but this time it's different.
I don't think a lot, actually. Like, rewatching it,
well,
there's so many things they did where they went back on it.
There were I think specifically he's talking like things that they like retconned from Last Jedi.
Like what?
Well, specifically, like the big one is Rey's parentage. Like that was a big old...
Rey's parentage was a big question, regardless. Like we came out of Last Jedi being like, well, is Kylo telling her the truth or is he messing with her? We came out of there being like, okay, is there going to be a thing? I think the answer was disappointing, but we were going to get confirmation one way or the other.
But the thing is, for me, it's like, I was fine. I would have been fine if that was the answer, you know?
That was the answer. That was the answer.
I like
but
the
it
idea.
wasn't the answer.
There's an interview with Daisy Ridley talking to J.J. Abrams back when they were talking about the other Star Wars, and she was saying, like, yeah, that was always the plan for Rey to be a nobody. That was always the plan, that she wasn't connected to the heritage of Star Wars.
I've never seen this
That
interview.
was always the plan. You can Google it. Look it up. Ray said that.
Google it.
Daisy Ridley said that. That was always part of the plan. Like, it wasn't the fact that, oh, she's a Solo or she's a Skywalker, or that you have to be special. But the Force just selects who it selects. That's how Jedi were selected for whatever, a millennia before that, right? Like, it wasn't like, wow, you're related to Obi-Wan, you're a Jedi. It's like, because Jedi weren't even supposed to have babies at that point, so it's like it doesn't even work that way. It was all just whoever the Force chose.
Yeah, but regardless, my point is like that to me isn't retconning something. That's again because
I didn't say retconning specifically.
He did,
but like I'm talking like backstepping, like. It's not like you're changing it. Like, you're just saying, like, oh, that's not exactly what he meant. Slight twist on that. We didn't really give you the answer, even though we did. But it's a whole lot of step backs, though. In that
again, I never took that as a step back. I took that as, like, we were gonna get confirmation in this film about her parentage, whether they were nobodies or they were somebodies. Because to me, I got confirmation,
but to me, sorry. Yeah, no, go ahead. I'll just eat my chocolate. I'll stop.
I took that.
I'm getting pissed off out this. I hate this fucking.
When Kylo said that in episode 8, I took that as a manipulation tactic. He was trying to make her feel worthless about who she was and where she came from in order to gain power over her. Whether it was the truth or not, because Kylo doesn't know. Kylo has no idea who her parentage is. Even in Rise of Skywalker, he didn't know. He basically just was like...
But you can't use Rise of Skywalker as evidence towards your point. Because...
So
You
why
cannot
would
use
Kylo know?
like we're debating about Rise of Skywalker and how it's a step back. So you cannot
But how-
use the step back to be like, well, Kylo, see, he didn't know. It's
But the
like,
thing is-
but he did.
How would
That's the
he
point.
know?
It doesn't explain how he knows, but clearly he knew.
No,
and it just
that's,
because
Matt,
just
that's
because
such
someone
a cop out answer. That's such a cop out answer.
no, because you don't need to explain how he knows. He's clearly known about Rey for some time. Like
no,
there-
he
there-
didn't.
Well, because in the first
In episode 7, there's tons of hints that
Like,
he had
what
some
girl?
idea of who
Like,
Rey
Look,
was.
in episode 7, there were tons of hints for a lot of things, and episode 8 threw that out too.
listen,
Look, none of the sequel films
None of them
did any
make fucking
favors to the
sense,
previous ones that happened before. Again, Last Jedi did a lot of stuff that completely derailed what Force Awakens was setting up. And then Rise of Skywalker did the same thing to Last Jedi. The problem is they overcorrected every single time. This film is the only film that the fans of Star Wars could have gotten because they were so busy complaining about the first film that they got. And this is basically, like, that's why I stand by, man. The Star Wars fans brought this on themselves. I'm not saying us. I'm not saying us in this room because we didn't take to the internet to complain about, oh,
Not even a
well,
little bit. This is the first time I've complained.
you need to change the movie to appease us. Because, like, with Force Awakens, so many people complained that it was the same as A New Hope that they're like, okay, guys, we got to do something radical. And they threw it at Rian Johnson and said, you can do whatever you want. And he did. And that went over terribly with 50% of the thing. So they're
yeah, I
like,
was
hey,
gonna say like not
I
everybody
wouldn't say
hates
50.
Last Jedi.
I wouldn't say 50%. I'd say like it's a good 30-70 split.
I'd
say-
like it.
I'm
I'd say 30% of the people really like it, like you,
Hmm.
and 70% is lukewarm to dislikes it.
I mean, I'm
And
just
then-
my whole point is it's not even necessarily that one point, but like you look at like the lightsaber. It's like, okay, it broke in 8, and they're like, yeah, instead of creating something new out of it, they glued that shit back together. Like
yeah.
that
That's-
to me is such a an image and metaphor exactly what they did with this movie. It's like shit. Like they changed shit in 8, but like I'm fucking glue that shit back together. Instead of
that's
creating
the-
something new, glue it back together.
Well,
Kylo
that's the-
and Rey, like their connection was like that was a very clear severance of their like relationship connection at the end of 8. And they're like, no, let's keep that shit going. And Kylo going full into the dark side. They're like, oh no, let's have him redeem in 9. Like it's just like so much shit.
Yeah. Well,
that,
that's
like,
the thing. For
Last
me,
Jedi
like,
literally definitively said, whether in literal words or in using imagery, they step back on it. And so it's not just that one example. Like there is just lots of stuff throughout this film. J.J. Abrams was like, nah, I feel like doing it this way instead. So
And
he
again,
did.
I don't think.
oh,
So he
I,
did.
I just realized I know why Kylo knows like who her parents were because they shared that mental connection. Literally, he saw inside of her head. I think that's one of the lines
Oh yeah, that might have been. I haven't watched 8 for
What?
a while now.
because they had like that connection
That's
between them.
that force connection.
Yeah, that's 100% why he knew who her parents were
In what movie? In which one?
in Last Jedi. Like when they were
No, because she didn't know who her parents were.
no, like he said that just say it, and then she said they were no one.
Because she believed that about herself. That's a self-esteem thing.
Yeah, but there was those unlocked memories, and she would have had memories of it.
But they didn't have her unlocked memories. That was just basically... again, man, that's...
Is your self-esteem saying your parents are nobody? Is that really a self-esteem
When
thing?
her entire weight of her character is put into her identity, yes, 100%. That's her whole reason for being. Even going back to the first one, is she had to get back to Jakku because she had to wait because someone was coming back for her. Her whole weight of her character was her lineage, which is, out of everything people complain about this movie, I will give them leeway for everything. The ending of her choosing the name Skywalker, I am more than fine with that because
Yeah, that doesn't bug me at all.
that's the end of her story. She doesn't have a family. Her whole weight is finding her identity of who she is, and by the end of the trilogy, she found it.
Oh wait, no, wait. I don't have an issue with her overall arc being like, oh, I'm a Skywalker. It was like half the movie's message though was like, oh, accept who you are and shit like that. And then it was like, Nah, fuck it. Just be a Skywalker. It's a better course
No,
of
yeah,
action.
it was confusing because like the movie kept being like, no matter who you are, it's okay.
Yeah,
Yeah.
like-
but then they're just
but
like, fucking
unless-
be a Skywalker, man.
unless your grandfather is
Is
Chief
Palpatine, then you...
But like, man, the amount of people I see online get mad about it's like, you can't just change your name like that. You can't just. I'm like, I
Like,
can
you
legally
legally
go
can.
to City Hall and I can become a Skywalker. Like, I can go do that and no one's gonna question me on it.
Yeah.
Like you don't need legal paperwork in Star Wars land to do that. You
Just
like-
say it. Just
Yeah,
proclaim
like-
it.
Emperor. I mean, like,
I
to be
declare
fair,
bankruptcy.
I mean, to be fair, Emperor Palpatine legally had the right to change Anakin's name to Darth Vader.
my point, I think, at the end of the
You
day
shall
about
be named Darth Vader.
Vader.
what I think
Vader.
happened with Episode 9, and like I read Colin Trevorrow's script, and honestly, man, I think people would have been just as pissed off. I think it would have
Yeah,
been
I
a
read the
different
script too.
reaction.
Yeah.
People would have been just as mad at his thing as they were at Rise of Skywalker, because even reading that, it's like, this is a bunch of random stuff that's not connected to the last film at all. Okay, guys.
Weird shit.
Yeah, it was a bunch of weird stuff, and it's like they needed to sit down at the very beginning and have a plan
And
for
you-
the trilogy.
100%. And you know what? That ultimately, Ethan, at the end of the day, like, we can disagree on it, or
On
we can
points
say,
and all
like,
that stuff.
we can, like, bicker and banter, whatever we do for the rest of the episode. At the end of the day, all the blame falls on Kathleen Kennedy as the producer, as the head, to not sit down with all three directors and figure out a goddamn plan and where this
Yes. Well, 'cause-
trilogy is going. At the end of the day, it lies on her. So we can argue back and forth, but let's be honest here, and we can leave it this loving each other, because we know it ain't our fucking fault, and it ain't
Well,
no
at the end of the
individual
day,
movie's
it's a
fault.
movie, right?
Like,
Like,
it's not
it's
an individual movie's fault. It's like the whole picture was effed right from the beginning.
Yes.
That's
Well,
the
like,
problem.
I think especially what happened for Episode 9 is, again, they were like, yeah, cool, we kind of know what's going on, and then Episode 8 happened, and people were like, no, this is terrible, we hate it, or like they were divided on it, and no one was happy.
The problem is,
So
Ethan, it's very simple. They wanted a movie that was nothing like the original trilogy, but not too different, and it had to have characters that you love,
but
but not too many
much.
of
Yeah.
too many of them.
But
and,
stop
like,
it had to-
murdering them.
it had-
Oh,
One,
It had
They
to.
also
It had
didn't
to
stop
have. It had to make big narrative swings, but not too big.
again, like, I stand by the Star Wars fans shot themselves in the foot, because I guarantee you the writing process for Episode 9, when they chose not to go with just Colin Trevorrow's script, is they just hopped on Google and searched all the most wanted Star Wars things that fans
yep.
wanted,
yeah.
and they threw it in there.
Yeah.
Because,
Yup.
like, there's a lot, like, again, there's a lot of things that people complained about with Last Jedi that are in Rise of Skywalker. There's also a lot of
Yup.
things that people complained about with Force Awakens
That
that's
are
in Rise of Skywalker.
Skywalker, yeah. Or like
Mm-hmm.
fan theories and shit.
They were trying to cater to too many people, and that's ultimately where
They
they
were trying to
failed.
cater to people in general. Fuck
Oh, yeah, it
people.
was-
You make the movie and you cater to the story.
Oh yeah, but they were
People
they
can
were
like it or
trying
not.
they were trying to stick the landing, and because they tried so hard to stick the landing, they missed it.
Like it's literally
Well,
like
they bit off way too much of a
Because
chunk. Did you?
they basically they tried to, like, because there's people who are like fans of Force Awakens who don't like Last Jedi, and there's people who really like Last Jedi who don't like Force Awakens, and then they made this movie and they decided to make none of them happy.
It's true.
Because like
Well,
again,
fine, no one will be happy. And...
literally it's like, because again, as you've said it before, where it's like, if you're a fan of Last Jedi, you don't get any solid like follow up to the stuff you liked in Last Jedi. In fact, they take shit away. And if you're a fan of Force Awakens, there's stuff in like Rise of Skywalker that plays off of Force Awakens, but you don't have a middle chapter to properly set them
it
up.
feels cheap. It feels rushed.
Yeah.
And that's where, like, I stand by it. Rise of Skywalker, not the movie that we got, but, like, elements of the story that we got, would have worked if it had a completely different middle chapter setting it up. And Last Jedi would have worked if it had a completely different third chapter concluding it.
Yes.
Yeah.
And that's where it's like they just don't connect. Like, none of the pieces fit with this. And, like, because there's
I
there's
agree from like an like an overall narrative arc. What you're
Yeah.
saying, like And I also agree with something you've said earlier in other podcast episodes that episode 9 should have been 2 movies. You know what I
Yeah,
mean?
100%.
Take a lot of the ideas and split them up so that it's not so crammed and rushed together. Now, if they would have done that and made like a 4 episode arc,
They
whatever,
wanted
like
to.
if that's what you had to do, then do it. I think then it would have been better. But I think there's too many
Did you-
narrative sins and
Wait.
issues with 9 just in general that
Did you
even if
hear
8
why?
was different, it would still be a mess just because the movie itself functionally was
Did
a
you
mess.
hear why they couldn't do that? They wanted to split it. They were like, we have too much we're trying to do. Can we do episode 9 and 10? And they got told no because it didn't line up with George Lucas's vision.
Well, none of it lined up with George Lucas's vision. So
Well, that's the thing, but that's the
Bruh.
stupid thing. That's
if
the
you
messed
f it up
thing.
and you make 2 movies to fix it, then make the 2 damn movies.
100%.
That's the
Like-
thing. You could have done your final episode 9 to conclude this trilogy, and then you could have done your finale episode or 10 wraps it all up.
Yeah, you even could have done that. Yeah.
Again, there's things they could have done, but because of contracts and BS and trying to appease everybody, that's what screwed them up at the end of the day. Because there are things and moments that I genuinely like in Rise of Skywalker where I'm like, I could see where they're going with it, but it doesn't work. I could see where they're going with certain things,
I am absolutely
and then it's just then the
Mm-hmm.
problem is you can see the shell. You can see the beginnings of good ideas, and that's what bugs me. There's beginnings of good ideas, but then the execution is absolutely not there.
well, because again
Absolutely, yeah.
I really on the topic of just the first 5 minutes of the movie had me hooked. Because you got
Going in hot with Kylo just wrecking people.
Yeah, wrecking people. I was just yes, this is what I need. This is the perfect continuation off of where he was at the end of Last Jedi. He's pissed off and he's looking for shit. And then we get the holocron thing that's not a holocron. It's a fucking
Wayfinder.
the Wayfinder. That's whatever. And then we go to the Sith planet Exegol, which looks fucking cool. It looks like
Palpatine.
The visuals there were very good. Yeah.
Palpatine should have been a ghost. He shouldn't have been a weird zombie.
that's
He could have been a zombie. That didn't really make it Palpatine
Like-
shouldn't even existed there, but yeah.
well, and that's the thing.
I'm
When
okay if Palpatine was the shadowy figure behind everything, but the reveal needed to be better than just
I made Snook.
Well,
no,
I guess
not
he's here.
even in the crawl. The dead speak.
Yeah,
the
Palpatine's
dead
back. They don't even show you. They
Oh,
just
yeah.
tell you.
In
It's
the
like-
they literally put an important plot point from the film in frickin' Fortnite. Instead of in the
Exactly.
actual movie.
Exactly.
Oh, yeah, no, again,
Exactly.
I don't think any of us are anti-Palpatine.
No.
We're anti how
I was
he
hyped
came
that
back,
Palpatine was coming
Yeah,
back, but it was
But then
like
how they handled it was just
The worst way you could
Okay.
have done it.
how they introduced him into the film was bullshit. Like I said, through the crawl is the dumbest thing. For a couple of reasons. Number one, just the whole idea that Palpatine announced to the galaxy that he was back, and
not
they had
really
X
"I'm
amount of
back,
time to
everyone."
X
really a
amount of
Sith
time, and then he's
thing
going
to
to take
do.
over the galaxy. What a stupid tactical plan. We're talking about the same Emperor Palpatine who constructed the fall and the
Also-
rise of the Galactic Empire.
Yes.
The
But
fall of the
thinking
Republic,
about
the
it-
rise of the Empire. And now he's like, I'm coming back and making an announcement. It would have been
I've
way
got
better
so
if you
many
just
ships.
showed up, dude, and
Yeah, but
F people
thinking,
up.
thinking
Tactically, that would
about
have
it,
made way more sense.
even with that opening 5 minutes, if Kylo discovered him in that opening 5 minutes without the crawl saying Palpatine's back, that would have been a bit more of okay, this is really sudden, but okay.
It would have just been because you're there for that part.
Instead,
the
we
fact
were
that it
waiting.
was in the crawl.
We knew what he was going to discover.
Yeah, and the fact that he just again the idea that Palpatine just announced himself to the galaxy
Was
hours
stupid.
before his
Like,
return is the
I'm-
dumbest shit
I'm
I've ever
fine.
heard.
I'm fine that the rebels. I'm fine if it's the rebels know about it. Because again, they're doing covert shit to find that stuff out.
Yeah, if that's what they did to find it out.
Yeah, which is again, it's weird that there's oh yeah, Palpatine announced his existence to the galaxy, but then the rebels had to still find confirmation that he exists and is
Palpatine
alive.
is back somehow.
Somehow Palpatine
See,
returned.
and that's the other part that somehow the
I
whole
agree.
damn movie, they're just like, never tell you how Palpatine's back. Instead, they put it in a book, which was like their image thing. And this was the original. Okay, so let me break this down real quick. Because at first there was like the not the graphic novel, but you know, like this art of Star Wars or whatever.
Yeah.
So they were talking in that book, they talk about Palpatine and how his like Sith followers or acolytes or whatever the hell they're called,
The Sith Eternal.
Sith Eternal, went and found his body after the Death Star, and that is actually Palpatine that's being kept alive by machines. And I'm like, number one, that's the stupidest shit I've ever heard. Because he was
blew
throwing
up.
down like a freaking reactor pipe or whatever. He literally exploded. Like we saw the like inner explosion, and then the Death Star fucking blew up. And you're telling me his body is still in one piece, and then the Sith Eternal went to some bunk ass moon and randomly found his body just float like in the galaxy. Like, how does that work? And then after that, in a different book, they're like, "Oh no, it's a clone." They're even backtracked. Like they still, I don't think to this day, have exactly clarified
Well, because apparently
what and how he came back. Like
apparently
it's so
Palpatine,
ridiculous.
Palpatine being present in the movie was a Kathleen Kennedy demand. Like
I'm
they
just saying,
didn't
like
want,
they did not figure that out. and
J.J.
it's
Abrams had no plan to bring him in.
embarrassingly hilarious.
No one had any plan to bring Palpatine in, and she was like, people like Palpatine. You need to put him in here. And they're like, what?
Doesn't make any
What?
sense.
And she's like, nope, you have to. Because like even if you look at people's
She's like
interviews, if
the
you look
worst
at
studio head.
even if you look at J.J. Abrams talk about this movie, it's not like he's like, yeah, I love my Star Wars conclusion. He's like, I'm here. I made a movie.
I'm alive.
Can I leave Star Wars now?
Well, because again, like I'm pretty sure, like originally Matt Smith was supposed to be the bad guy in it. I'm 1,000% sure that was who he was supposed to be. And
He
then
was connected to the story at some point.
and then he just wasn't in it at all. And then suddenly Palpatine gets announced, and it's like, okay. And here's the thing: I'm happy Ian McDermott probably got a massive paycheck, and I'm happy about that. But like, it's like the biggest like Hail Mary for like a third act villain reveal.
But it wasn't a third act. Well, I mean, like it was a third act because of the trilogy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But like, okay, like it was one of those moments where it's just like, okay, I guess this is where we're going. All right.
Like, yeah, I was cool with the idea of it, like Palpatine coming back, but the fact that like the big question was how, and you expect when Disney's making something, you know, a studio that caliber, it's like they're gonna fucking tell you.
I
And it's
assumed it
just
was
like,
clones
they
because that's always been his thing. But
Yeah.
like that's
The-
But they didn't even clarify or to like even if it was
They just
clones,
kinda-
that's fine. Like just say I
they just
cloned myself or I
hint at
transferred
it,
myself to a
right?
clone. Like they're just
Well, it's like
the
oh,
dark
yeah.
side is a pathway to many abilities. Some consider to be unnatural.
I also cloned a
nice.
bunch of the same messed up Snoke looking guys.
Yes. Never
For
got
no reason.
never got better at making those.
And I stand by
They all
like,
turned out like crap.
Well, again, it's like that. It would make sense if it's like those are just bodies that he was occupying as a Force ghost, and it was just like the facade of like who Snoke was. Then that would kind of make sense. But again, he's not occupying that body. Snoke is he just made him, and it's
Yeah.
like okay, cool, all
But
right.
it's the same thing with like it's the same thing that's confusing about Rey's parents because apparently Rey's dad is also a clone.
But a failed clone of
But
Palpatine.
but why? And how did he get that old?
And again, it's like, how will you know that?
And-
Oh, well, you see, it's in a book, not in the movie.
And
but
like-
it's
And that's the point.
yeah, it's like why?
And like half
That
the
whole
time-
movie, I was trying to think, I'm like, who the F would bang Palpatine? Especially,
Right?
I'm like, if you put the
No.
timeline together, like, he gonna be nasty as shit. Like,
Well, that's the thing. It's like
who's
we never.
doing that?
I
There was-
stand
doing
by
that.
Sheev Palpatine, like we're talking pre-episode 3. I firmly believe, as a politician, he 100% had a family. He 100% had a family to pose. Like we don't see them, but like this is just like it makes sense. Politician running for office, you have a family because look, I'm the family man.
Yep.
Yes, look at me and my kids.
That's what Donald Trump did. I mean,
that makes sense. That would make sense if you're like pre-episode 3 Palpatine's kids. Okay, I can get on board with that.
Yep.
But anything after episode 3, it's like,
who would bang this monster? Oh, the Force is strong with you.
Because like
that was the problem. I'm sitting there at this movie. I'm like, who the F would bang Palpatine? This makes no sense.
Well, that's when you see Rey's parents, they're like 20 years old.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying, man. Like
the timeline doesn't make sense.
So recent,
which is,
but
that's
the fact
one of
that you
those
say
things.
it's a failed clone, it's like, but
you need to.
in what way is it failed? And that actor clearly looks nothing like Palpatine, so that still doesn't.
Well,
even
according
make
to the
sense.
book,
Like, just-
according to the book, he's a failed clone because he didn't have any Force powers.
But he reproduced?
And how did he escape if he didn't have Force powers? That's what I want to know. You clone Sean Exegol, and like this guy with no Force powers finds a way out? Come on.
See, that would be the more interesting Star Wars movie to tell.
There's just a clone
there
of
we
Palpatine wandering around the galaxy.
Matt Smith, man, bring him in. That'd be dope.
Yeah, what the hell, man? Like, why not? Like, young.
No, and it's like this weird thing where like for some reason like someone takes pity on him and like rescues him and like takes him away to another planet. Oh, it's episode 4. Never mind.
Oh
Yeah.
my god. Well, and again, like, because I think there was, for the longest time, like, because the biggest thing, like, at a certain point, I thought that Rey was just going to be a case of, like with Anakin, where, like, the Force just made, like, it was another immaculate,
Conception thing.
yeah, where it's like the Force made another savior because it was unbalanced once again, and like to me,
Which in that idea would make sense with why the lightsaber called out to her. There's
Exactly.
still that like idea of the Force connection between
and that,
her and Anakin.
and again in Last Jedi, there's another line that Snoke has where he's like, the darkness rises and the light to meet it. Like,
yeah.
so like to me, it would have made sense if Rey was another like Anakin type case where like the Force just created a new avatar for good to bring balance, because it happened before. And then people could shut the hell up as to why she's so powerful, because
Why she's so
like,
big, yeah.
Because then people couldn't make the argument, because like, this doesn't make any sense to be so powerful if that was the thing. It's like, y'all were fine with Anakin being a pod racer at 6 years old.
He was 9.
Or 9, or whatever the hell.
That's, at the end of the day, though, that's the stupid thing. No matter what they chose to do with Rey as a character,
people still would have hated her.
The whole,
people are
like,
dickheads.
Do you want to talk quickly about the training montage we got in episode 9?
Oh, yes.
And how 100% the whole reason there's like an 8-minute training montage scene with Rey.
People were bitching about it.
Yeah, and that's what I mean. They're just trying to appease people. Be like, well, guys, no, she trains. See, look what she's doing. She's doing the training course. And it's like, this is such a waste of my time.
Yeah.
I don't need to see her train because I didn't see anyone else train. I'm good with this.
The only person you saw train was Luke.
And even
it was
then,
only for a very limited time on Dagobah.
Yep.
Like, that was it.
And he did the exact same thing we saw Rey do.
Yep.
She ran through the woods. She
He
used
did some flips.
She floated some rocks. She
got shot by the little drone thing.
Yeah, like, the only thing she didn't know, she did that later. I'm like, the only thing she didn't do was encounter a dark version of herself.
Which she totally does.
Oh, yeah, she did. Never mind.
Which, again, that went nowhere. Like,
That was, like, why even put that in the trailer that one time?
I
That
don't
pissed
know
me
why
off
it's in
when
the
I watched
trailer,
this thing.
but, like, I'm fine with it being in the movie. Because, again, that's a thing that harkens back to, like, Luke's
But the fact that it was in a trailer was just like, bro,
That
you
was
guys knew that wasn't going anywhere, and you just threw that in there to get
that
us
was purposefully to mislead people.
Yeah, that's exactly what it was, yeah.
Well, and again, like, then they tease giving her a friggin' staff lightsaber, and it's like, literally, that's what she should have had in this movie. She should have just had a new lightsaber.
Yes!
And it's just...
Thank you!
And it's another kick, because, again, she has a new lightsaber at the end of the movie. So, like...
There's a reason.
What?
I
No,
can't
like-
remember what it was, but I read there's a reason for why she didn't. And it's a dumb reason. Like, it's not a good reason.
So stupid.
But I remember reading something where they're like, oh yeah, this is why Rey didn't have a new lightsaber. And it was just like, that's so dumb. That's so dumb.
So
again-
my theory, like going into episode 9, number one, I agree with you, Prosser. She should have had a double blade or staff lightsaber.
oh, I
because
agree.
The whole point of the Skywalker lightsaber breaking was literally the fact, I'm sure, so she could make a double blade. Like, why even give her a staff at the very beginning of episode 7 if she wasn't gonna be a staff like
Because,
user
again,
and use that to
that's-
her advantage? Like, it
to
was
me,
just
clearly that was the
such a character
that was the setup.
miss out.
She's way
Yeah.
like you see in episode 7 when she's fighting with the lightsaber. Like she uses it, but she's way more comfortable using the staff to fight. You even see that in
Yeah.
Last Jedi when she's training. Like
Actually, you even
Like-
see that in episode 9.
yeah, when in the
When
fight
she's-
she ultimately uses the staff to like stab the robot. Like
Even when Zori Bliss shows up and they're gonna like ambush them, she kicks the shit out of everybody with the staff,
that's
Yeah.
the thing.
and then pulls a lightsaber out at the very end.
There's a very clear setup as to what her lightsaber was supposed to be, and they just never fucking did it. But
No, because they had to glue the Skywalker saber back together,
well, of
man.
course. And here's the
I've never
thing.
seen such a hard on for one lightsaber.
And here's
It's
the thing:
absolutely unbelievable.
if you want to bring that saber back in a meaningful way, and I was actually telling him this when we were watching Rise of Skywalker, like thematically with Ben at the end, like turning back good, and then end up wielding the Skywalker lightsaber. That shit is thematic with where he is at, like when you like remember the end of episode 7 when he's like that lightsaber belongs to
Sure,
me.
yeah.
Like, and then him finally wielding it for good at the end of episode 9. I was like, that is actually like good thematic things within a trilogy. So like if you want to do a thing where like he reassembled the lightsaber because he throws his away, then you could do something like that. But
Yeah.
again, like
it's just it's missed opportunity.
yeah.
You know,
And like with the lightsaber too, like that whole thing was part of like going into 9, like after we'd seen like the evil Rey, right? I was like, obviously, like they freaking were assholes about that. But I'd always heard like in episode 7, like part of the original script or the original idea was the film was starting with Luke's hand like floating through space or whatever, right? With the lightsaber. So I always just like assumed like maybe that was actually part of like the overarching plot. Like maybe Rey is so powerful, and in episode 7, the Skywalker lightsaber calls out to her because she in herself, in fact, is a clone out of like Luke's hand, right? They found the lightsaber. Why, someone found the hand or whatever. So I just always like going into 9, my theory was like, yeah, Rey's parents are nobody because she's an effing clone. You know what I mean? Like that would
And then
make
she
sense.
was.
And that would
Yeah.
make sense why that lightsaber connected to her or called out to her. She was
Yeah.
completely drawn to it. It would make sense why like the whole Skywalker, why she was so powerful. Like it would all make sense. And if you had like an evil Rey actually there as an evil clone, that would have made shit just infinitely more interesting.
Yeah.
See, and
But I
heard-
digress. That's not the choice they obviously went with. But I
exactly.
I thought
We're-
it would have been a fun idea.
Like at a certain point, it's like, yeah, again, like I'd say, I don't like to like devolve into just like, oh, yo, they should have done. But like there's certain
No,
things,
I'm saying that was my theory going
yeah.
into it.
It was funny because I'm pretty sure one of the original stories that like, or story plots that I heard people were saying that they were gonna do was actually have Ben and Rey flip, and have like Kylo starts out as the bad guy, Rey's the good guy, and by the last film she'd become the bad guy, and Kylo would have to
Okay.
try and stop her. And
Yeah.
like, I don't hate that concept.
It would have been ballsy. Would
I
have been
think
different.
I think it definitely like you get a lot of exploration of the themes of light side and dark side. I don't know how it would have. Well, I mean, like with the creative team that they had, it wouldn't have worked because, again, there was no way they were gonna dig. This is why I go back to what I said originally. Coming out of Last Jedi, I'm like, there's no way that they're gonna dig themselves out of this, and they didn't, and that's where I don't think I hate it as much as you guys because I had zero expectations going in. I'm like, well, I'm gonna get a Star Wars film, and it's gonna be more Star Wars than Rogue One was. So like,
one of my favorite fan theories from this movie, and it was actually my ex Christina. She said this like after we watched it in the theater. She was like, Well, clearly, what happened at the end there is Leia possessed Kylo, and it was her until the end of the movie because she disappears.
Amazing.
Because she disappears when Kylo dies as well.
That's interesting.
And I'm like, so you're saying that like secretly Leia just wanted to kiss Rey this whole time?
Leia's like, oh yeah, give me some of that Ray. Mm.
That's still
What's going on, girl?
That'd be the most Carrie Fisher thing ever. So like, that'd be fine.
That's still
with
the
it.
dumbest thing that they did, though. Like, they didn't need a kiss there. They could have had that just be a
No.
platonic.
Not
thing.
at all, because the guy's gonna die 10 seconds later.
Well, that's
what is
Well, and again, he's been tormenting and abusing her for the last
like
two
movies.
episodes. So
Yeah. Like it's one of those things. Like he's a weirdo, and she's like super antisocial, like kind of like a really nice human being, and Kylo's super weird. So they never clicked with me. There was like a romantic connection there at all. Like in Last Jedi, I just kind of saw it as like when they had that connection. I always saw it as like two individuals who were basically just caught up in a conflict, who were just like finally having this moment to just like connect with another person who was kind of like them. That's how I saw that, but apparently I was mistaken. It's been romantic this whole time.
Well, then all the scenes with Carrie Fisher were pretty rough.
Yeah.
I mean, like at the end of the day, I think with Carrie Fisher, like I'm not a fan of what happened. I mean, other than recasting, though, what do you do?
Just
right?
don't have her in the
It's
movie.
like,
You look. You made Palpatine come back from the dead in a
Yeah.
crawl. You can
But
kill off Leia in a crawl.
yeah,
Like-
I feel like that wouldn't help the movie. Like I feel like if you just come on and be like,
I don't think
she
it
died.
wouldn't have hurt it at
like-
all because it was reality. Like that's the thing is like it wouldn't have hurt.
Yeah,
it
you
would
get
not
it,
have
but
hurt
like
it.
they're like the performer has passed on, and there's different ways to honor that character still. Like the character's journey shouldn't end just because the actor dies.
Well, yeah, but again, like,
That's
in
my
that
opinion. Like that, I feel like that's how you honor somebody. It's like, yeah, Carrie couldn't finish that character's journey. That character's journey shouldn't just end. But it does feel like this choice felt worse though. Like this to me like felt like the wrong choice. And maybe
Well,
it would have
'cause
been a different world if they picked the other way, like recast. And maybe we would say no, it would have been way better with footage. I mean, I don't know. That's a completely
That's the thing, like,
imagined
That's
world.
why
They
I
kind of-
stand by.
They were caught between a rock and a hard place. With that.
I stand by if you have an actor who is synonymous with a role, who passes away and like they're part of a group. I'm very pro. You open the movie with a funeral to her, like open like you honor the character. Yeah, she died off screen technically, but you still pay homage to what that character stood for and who that actor was. To me, I think that I think is always the better option. It's like when Anton Yelkin died, and they were talking about doing Star Trek 4. I'm like, Star Trek 4 should open up with a funeral for Chekhov. Like, just do it.
Well, because in 3 they address Leonard Nimoy's like Spock Prime died when Leonard Nimoy died.
Yeah, there's nothing wrong with that. There's absolutely nothing wrong with that, and I think it's the most tasteful and best way to do it, rather than worrying about recasting or anything like that. And it's honestly kind of how I like. I know they don't want to do this with Black Panther. I know they don't want to kill off T'Challa, but like,
Well, I don't think they're. I think they are killing off T'Challa, but like I don't think they're recasting T'Challa.
they're
I
not.
mean, I don't
That's
know.
the thing. They
I don't
keep
know what's
saying-
happening, but I don't
They
think
keep
they're
saying like
recasting.
we're not recasting him, but we're not killing him off, and it's like, then what are you doing?
Yeah, like,
Like
what do you?
he just went to take a long nap, okay?
But that's and at the end of the day, like as bad as it's
He
gonna
went to
sound.
willingly join the Kings in Eternal Pride Rock.
This is gonna sound really dumb, just with since we're talking about giant sagas and we're talking about this stuff. I'm getting to a point where I'm just over all this, man. I'm just over all these big franchise, crazy crossover, shared universe things because it's getting out of hand, and it's putting people's expectations for what a movie should be like way too high. So if a bad movie happens or a movie happens that doesn't line up with exactly what the fan demanded and wanted,
Oh, they hate it. Yeah,
and it's just
it's like,
stupid. And that's I haven't seen Eternals yet, but I want to see Eternals because I know people are crapping on it because apparently it's not like the other Marvel movies, so people are mad because it's not like the other Marvel movies, and it's like, well,
doesn't that sound refreshing?
I'd like to, and again, I'll give it a shot. I haven't really looked into what is different with it.
yeah.
But I'd rather have something completely different and new than the 15th Iron Man movie again. Like
15th, yeah, like yeah.
let's
No,
tell the
I
Iron
don't
Man
disagree
origin
with you,
story,
yeah.
but with a different character again.
Yeah, yeah.
And that's where I'm.
I mean, like they're fun and stuff. I just think.
yeah, and like at the end of the day, it's
It's not even so much the movies like get me tired. It's like going online and seeing people's reactions.
Oh,
to shit
100%,
and like
man.
people's comments. It's like that makes me tired. Like,
all
and
the
even thinking about this,
speculations,
it's like
the rumors, the
yeah, and
like,
even
right?
talking about like this movie. Like, listen, Rise of Skywalker is not a good movie, and like we can argue about it again all
No,
day long, whatever. But at the end of the
at
day, it's
any
like who
point-
gives a shit, man? Like,
Yeah.
Matt. At
like-
any point, have I said Rise of Skywalker was a good movie?
yeah, exactly. You have not, and we can argue on that. We're just arguing at how bad it actually
Would I-
is at this point.
Like,
Would I watch
Like
it
that's
over?
fine. We turn this thing off and we go on with our lives because who gives a shit at the end of the day? It's just a movie.
It's
They're things that we
only a
love. They're not things that formulate our lives in existence.
They aren't us as
mean, they
like
pay
a
our
person,
checks,
our
but
identity.
it's true, yeah.
You know?
No, like, and that's where like
We didn't actually make the movie.
at
No.
the end
If I
of
wrote
the
the movie,
day-
I'd be like, oh god damn it.
at the end of the
I've
day,
gone
like
a little far in a few places.
there's a lot of
Yeah.
movies I would watch over Rise of Skywalker, but there's also a lot of movies I would watch Rise of Skywalker way before most of them.
Yeah, there's some really terrible movies.
Like if I had to choose between watching like most of the Transformers films or Rise of Skywalker, I would pick Rise of Skywalker.
you
100%.
might have me on that one, buddy. Yeah.
Because at the end of
Right,
the day,
like-
it's Star Wars.
Depends.
Yeah, like-
depends which of the Transformers. I think some of the Transformer movies are pretty good.
One
Some of
would
them were
be-
just
one
the
would be
worst,
kind of a
though.
toss up, and 4 would be kind of a toss up. But like 2, 3, and 5, especially 5. You want to talk
Especially
about a mess
5.
of a movie?
Oh,
You're
God.
right. You're
Look.
right. You know what? You're 100%
Oh,
right.
Jesus.
Rise of
Transformers
Skywalker
5
looks
is
like a
way worse than
masterpiece.
Rise of Skywalker.
Yeah,
I would rather
Rise of Skywalker looks like a piece of art.
at least Rise of,
Transformers 5, the last night wasn't even like conceivable. Like you couldn't even
at
understand
least,
what was
at least
happening.
Rise
It
of
was like-
Skywalker had a consistent aspect ratio through the whole movie.
Look,
yeah, that
dude,
too.
forget the aspect ratio. I don't remember the story.
No.
If I had to take 20 kicks to the ball simultaneously or watch Last Night again, I would take the 20 kicks to the balls.
It's going to be over a lot quicker.
Yeah.
If honestly, if I had to explain the plot of Last Night to save my life, I'd be
I
like,
couldn't do it.
I'm just dead, man. Like, because I have
Anthony
no idea what
Hopkins
that.
is Merlin, I guess, but so is Stanley Tucci.
But
I'd be like, I don't know,
and to
man.
watch Transformer killed Adolf Hitler, and
Wait,
There
that
was a
happened?
bad.
they explain in the movie there's this like thing with a like a stopwatch transformer, and he's like, that's the watch that killed Adolf Hitler.
Couldn't we have just gotten like 4 movies just
and-
only following John Turturro's character from the first one?
And Hot Rod.
Yeah, there you go.
And Hot Rod's British now. Or wait, no, is he a French maitre d'? I
I
can't
don't
remember.
even. Was he even in that movie? Like,
don't
I couldn't.
even know.
Honestly, I just couldn't tell you.
That's
Other
because
than,
all
like,
the
bad
Transformers also
Optimus
look the
bad,
exact
like-
same.
Yep. Oh, but
But it
guys.
was so bad.
Oh, but
There
guys,
was
Frank
one scene-
Welker is finally voicing Megatron. Don't we get bonus points because Frank Welker is finally voicing Megatron?
No.
No, movie. No, you don't.
Like, wasn't okay. So, someone correct me, like, if I'm wrong on this one, because distinct. The only thing I remember from the Last Night that I was like, when I was like, really, like, what the f is going on? There's a scene where they're talking to Anthony Hopkins, and then it just cuts and they're driving somewhere. Like, the scene itself didn't feel like it ended. It just all of a sudden they were outside, like they were on their way to whatever they had to do. But it didn't like make sense. Like,
Oh,
it wasn't
probably.
cut. It wasn't cut in a way where it was like, oh, we're giving you your mission, and then he's talking over it as they're going somewhere or something like
that-
that. Like, it was just like, and this thing happened, and then it's like, oh shit, we're driving somewhere. Okay,
And that feels
I mean,
like a thing that would happen in that movie.
I also could have fallen asleep and that happened. So
Yes.
like, who knows? But to me, I very distinctly remember like watching Anthony Hopkins and then being like, we just left Anthony Hopkins behind. Okay, I have no
Right?
idea what's happening now.
Jesus.
But
Yeah,
yeah, no, I 100% agree with that. Yeah.
Yeah, as
That's so
as
funny.
bad as Rise of Skywalker can be at times, there are movies that are worse.
100%.
One of the other things too about like Rise of Skywalker that I always found like annoying. We talked about this last episode too. We touched on it. Is like the conveniences, right?
Yep.
Like the amount of just like simple conveniences at every turn.
Oh.
It, like just irks the. Like, listen, man. In a movie, you can have one or two conveniences to get out of a problem.
Yeah.
Sure, whatever. I'll allow it. But when like everything is a huge convenience, it's like
I said
like
this
that's
to,
not even creative writing. Like that's just.
I said this to him and Trent last night when we were watching it. It is a movie that is a series of and-thens. It is an and-then movie. It is literally this happens, and then this happens, and then this happens, and then this happens.
I then
Nothing causes really anything else. It was basically like there's no real setup and payoff. It's like, actually no. Community has that ending, or that there's that end bit between Troy and Abed, where like they're like trying to make a story together.
Oh,
It's like
yeah.
once upon a time, and like
and
they
Troy
get to a
just
certain
kept
point.
saying, and then
Yeah. And that's what Rise of Skywalker was. It was a lot of and then this happens, and then that happens, and then this happens, and like we were half paying attention, and even for me, I had to be like, wait, why were they looking for the dagger again? And then I think Trent had to be like, oh, Orlando mentioned the dagger to him.
that damn dagger.
Oh, okay.
That dagger. I looked up and no, it's not. Apparently, it's not an ancient Sith dagger.
Because they don't say ancient in the movie.
It just has Sith inscriptions on it.
Yes.
But still,
Are you sure? I feel like they've said ancient
No.
in
No,
that film.
well,
I feel like it was very specifically
They're talking
pointed out
when
that
they
this
talk
was some
about
sort
the
of.
when they talk about the Sith language, they mention the Sith language is ancient, but
But
they don't say the
specifically-
dagger itself is.
Because I looked it up because I was trying to figure out if someone put it in a goddamn book or something, and no one did. It's literally just in that movie, but literally like. But I still stand by it. The way that it lines up with the friggin' Death Star and the friggin' thing that comes out
It's
to
a
tell
map.
you,
It's fine.
It's just there's
It's the same. It's the same logic as the Raiders of the Lost Ark.
that's
it's
an
the same
ancient
logic.
temple that's been there for thousands.
What does it
of
matter
years.
if it's 30 years or 1,000 years? It doesn't make a difference. At
I'm
some
just
point,
saying.
no. Listen,
How old is
Shut
the
up.
knife?
and listen.
Is the knife
Because
new?
at some point-
that's the question.
But that's
What's
the thing.
the timeline on the knife?
No, the timeline doesn't matter because at some point in Raiders of the Lost Ark, that temple to find the Ark was new. It was a couple minutes old, and it still worked the same way. Timeline doesn't matter.
But it does.
No, it doesn't. It doesn't change a thing.
Ethan's gone full heel.
The only thing that
It
would
doesn't
change.
matter what you like.
The only thing that would change, and this is where I kind of my suspension of disbelief gets shattered, is it's a wreckage in a raging lake ocean thing.
Like it would.
I'm pretty sure it would move in the last 30 years.
Yeah, like realistically, that knife isn't gonna.
You would
line
have
up.
to make the knife after the wreckage. That's why I'm asking the
and he
timeline
did.
on the knife.
No, he did. Yeah, like he looked it up, and it was like, yeah, the knife was made as a map to find the thing in the wreckage.
Yes, it's very convenient. But then he went and like he was using it on jobs to murder people, and it's like, aren't you worried that you're gonna mess up your map by using
No,
it?
because he made the map. He knew where it was because he made the map.
And that's fine, I guess.
Why did he make the map though?
So
He was told to make the map.
Oh.
That was basically like
Yeah,
Palpatine's like, yo, I want to know where this thing is. Just in
even
case.
even though I'm already on Exegol, I want to know what the map. I don't know why.
But just in case.
like,
I don't
with
know
that
why
map too,
Palpatine
though,
is suddenly
like, with
this
that
guy.
map, they could be like, because the size of like the Death Star wreckage, they could be on the other end of the lake, and that map
that's-
wouldn't work.
Oh,
That's-
I
You would
agree.
have to be
That's
in
a
the
moment.
exact right
That's a
spot
moment
for
of
that
your
map to work.
That's a
You
moment
gotta
of
be in the-
convenience.
that's
I'll
gotta
agree
be
with
the
that.
That's what I'm
exact
saying,
right
yeah.
Because
spot.
they just walked up and they're like, huh, there it is. But I think,
If they were 20 feet to the left, it would have been like, oh, this map's bullshit.
and that's the
They
thing.
wouldn't have figured out it was a map because you figured it out by looking at the horizon line or whatever,
if you-
right? The wreckage line.
So again, using Raiders as a comparison, how long did it actually take them to find the right place? The Nazis in that film even dug up the wrong thing because they didn't have all the right instructions.
Mm-hmm.
So you need a map to the place that you're going to use the map of. And
Yeah.
that's what was missing in this scene, or in this whole thing, is like the map that took them to the place to use the actual map to find the thing.
Yeah, they
It was
And
missing a
they
step.
should have used that instead of trying to freaking interpret daggers. Like the problem is like they had like way too many things. Like
Well,
they were
that's-
going from this place to this place to this, but it was already like too many steps.
If 3PO's
you know?
if 3PO's message was actually like
Useful?
coordinates rather than just to and then a planet.
Yeah.
Well, the planet's kind of huge, guys.
Like yeah,
And you
it's
just
also-
happen
yeah.
to crash in walking distance of where you needed to go.
Also, if you really think about it, like, if you want to find a map to where the Emperor is, maybe the last place where his giant space fortress crashed might be the best.
Oh no, they
clue.
weren't trying to find the Emperor. They were trying to find his Wayfinder.
Exactly.
Okay, I have another question here.
Like-
Why did they go to that first planet in the first place again?
Wait, what do you mean
Were
exactly?
they looking for Lando, or
Like-
did they just happen
like-
to find Lando?
Like what I'm talking
The
about.
first planet is the last place that Luke was looking for the dagger on.
Oh, okay.
So they were tracing Luke's step. Luke
Right,
never
right,
got farther because they could never find the dagger.
Yeah.
They found the dagger, but they needed to translate the inscriptions. So they
Which-
had to go to the other
like-
planet.
Okay, and Lando like happened to hang out, like he was still just there,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
Like,
Lando,
he never
Lando was
left.
partying it up at Shambhala.
You're like, hey, like this seems like a cool place to be.
Yeah.
All right. Hey,
And I think like
Chewbacca.
up to that
Hey.
point, it's fine. Like I feel like after that, like you get so many like conveniences.
Oh
at
yeah,
that
it was
point.
literally
Like you're having a speeder chase and like you don't know where you're going. All of
Yeah.
a sudden you end
Oh,
like
yeah.
where you land is like by the
exactly
ship.
where
Number one, that ship's been there for apparently 30 years and it A is still functional. B has not been scavenged by
Yup.
Jawas or any other
Nope,
kind
not
of
30
like
years. That would have
scavenger.
been 15. About
Yeah.
15 years. Still,
So
it's still a
whatever.
while, but,
But like
like
that's
like,
a hell.
the fact
and
that
it's like
nobody
sitting
has
there
gone
in
in
the
there.
middle, like it's not even
On
hidden.
display.
It's like right in the middle, and it's like, how did no one go and scavenge?
they're
that
all
shit?
too high at the
Like-
party.
like-
Yeah,
Look
that's
Look at Mandalorian. He leaves his freaking ship in like
Yes.
this one crevice, comes back like a day later, and the Jawas have like scrapped
Yeah.
that shit.
no,
Like,
and actually,
nobody touches
what I
that
mean?
the
shit.
movie calls
and then where they crash just happens to be above the cave where the dagger was in, and the
So-
snake happens to be blocking the hole. Like it's just
So,
that's
Matt,
where I'm saying the conveniences start piling up.
here's the
right?
genius of the writing in this.
Oh my god! And then when
Here's
they
the
take
ge-
Chewbacca and they're okay, that means another point, but I'll let you keep talking.
The
Yeah.
genius of the writing of this, they're self-aware, and that makes it okay, right,
Oh,
guys?
right, I forgot.
Because right when that scene happens, before all that convenience happens, they show up at the party, and C-3PO's like, oh, it's this festival that takes place every 42 years. And then one of them's like, that's convenient. And they're like, yeah, it is. And then the rest of the movie is just convenient.
Like,
So it's
dude,
clever
and,
writing.
and like
Oh,
the
right,
whole
I've-
movie is convenient after
Yeah,
that point.
no, they addressed
Like,
it, though, Matt.
everything that happens is
it's
super
practical.
convenient.
Matt, they addressed it, so it's okay.
It's practically an Edgar Wright movie.
Yeah, 100%. It's a
It's
wink
just-
and a nod.
It's
That
so
makes it
ridiculous.
fine, right?
That's convenient. That I forgot that the whole fact that that festival was happening is like
Yep.
the first huge convenience. So like we can't even cover this one, so just say convenient, and then everyone
If
will
we
forget about the
address
rest,
it,
hopefully.
it goes
Like-
away.
Also,
Yeah.
I just remembered, like, the Knights of Ren and Kylo Ren go to like hunt them down, but like the Knights of Ren don't do anything on that planet.
They don't do anything.
don't do anything on any
until
planet.
until they
isn't-
fight Kylo.
Because don't the
then they die.
Because aren't the stormtroopers the ones
Real
that capture Chewie?
Yep.
Yeah, literally, they just show up on that planet and they don't do anything. Kylo's the only one who does anything.
They just
but-
follow him around. Like what again? Another just useless waste of like.
But
I
the
just-
Knights of Ren's are goals, guys.
The Knights of
gold.
Like, it's such a wasted opportunity because they're such cool looking characters.
But that's all they are, just cool looking characters.
You could,
they're an army of Boba Fett's.
They're an entire squad of Darth Mauls.
Oh, Boba Fett's, no.
No, entire squad of Captain Phasmas, man. That's another
they're a
character
whole
who like looks
squad.
cool, and they
They're
do.
a whole
Like if
squad of
characters
all the-
look cool, just assume they ain't gonna be shit in Star Wars.
They're gonna
okay?
die.
That's how
They're
it's
gonna
roll.
die stupid
They're instantly
deaths.
gonna die.
But guys,
and it's not
don't
even,
worry.
they're not gonna be mad.
The
They're not
Disney
gonna
Plus series is going to come out any day now.
Oh,
and
yeah,
those
like,
guys are
the
going to get flushed
expanded-
out.
They'll all get books. They'll
Well,
all get
here's-
their own... Man, I can't wait for them to all come back to
got-
life in the animated series that takes place after this.
I found out more about the Knights of Ren from that Lego Star Wars Halloween special than I did in all three of these movies.
That was amazing.
Christian
That was
Slater
actually
played
pretty
their-
funny. I like that
Christian
one.
Slater playing their leader,
So good.
like a Lost Boys parody.
It's
Yeah,
amazing.
That was
That was
fun.
good.
That was actually fun. I liked it.
Another aspect, like other than like conveniences and stuff, and like talking about Knights of Ren, it's like this movie has like it does such a shit job of keeping any tension alive.
Oh, yeah.
whatsoever. Like they create it and then they immediately dispel it without allowing it to actually.
because,
like,
like,
grow.
Man, Chewie
They're
died.
like, oh, we captured, like, oh, Chewbacca blew up. 10 seconds later, oh, we just literally the next
we
scene to,
pulled
like,
a
show
switcheroo,
Chewbacca.
guys.
Like literally.
And it's like you knew it when you were watching it.
You
You're
should-
like, that could have been a
like,
moment of
we
tension.
call
You're like,
this
no.
You should find out about Chewbacca being alive the second Rey finds out Chewbacca's alive.
Guys, we
Exactly.
No,
Like,
guys.
why would they just show
we pulled the Charleston Hustle. And look at that. Now, Chewbacca,
You
is he
found-
alive? Is he not?
You fell for the bait and switch.
See,
Is
that would
this
have been
really
interesting
Chewbacca?
throughout. That would have been an interesting thing as you go through the movie. But they're like, nah. The other one that I was
No,
like
the-
immediately annoyed at is when you find out that what's his name? Freaking
Hux.
Donald Gleason. Is his name Donald Gleason?
Donald Gleason, yeah.
Donald Gleason?
Donald.
Yeah.
Yeah, Husk.
General
Hux. There we go.
General Hugs.
When they find out that he's like the infiltrator.
I love that. I like that. I'm
Okay,
like,
so no, that was cool, right? They're like, oh yeah, he's the undercover agent, and then
They
you're
just
like, oh
fucking
now
murder him.
we're gonna go with him, and it's gonna be super tense as he has to keep his cool and shit. But they're like, no, instantly fucking shoot him
That's the
and
thing.
kill all the tension
That's the
and
thing.
character
Wouldn't it have
potential
been-
that he had. I was like, what the fuck?
Like, wouldn't it have been cool if in that final fight he's in the control room there and he has to like find a way to like help them out
That's
on the
what I'm
outside?
Oh, no.
Actually,
Guys,
do fucking something.
and there's like a moment where like there's a moment where he like goes to like crash the ship into another ship, and then someone looks at him like he's a traitor. It's like, you traitor for the resistance, and he's like, no, for me, and like just because like, and that would be so on brand. Like he's just
Yep.
doing this for
Yeah,
himself.
he's
like,
just fucking because the whole like Hux wants to be completely in charge. He wants to be completely in charge. That's his
that
whole,
line of like, I don't care if you win, I just need Kylo Ren to lose.
Lose.
I love that. That was on brand.
Because Kylo Ren's the only thing stopping him from really seizing control of the First Order. You see that at the end of Last Jedi when he's just like, I'm gonna just shoot this guy now. Oh, I'm too late. He chickens out.
like, but that's what I'm saying. Like
The
that was
Supreme
like,
One, lift the Supreme
like-
Leader.
that moment was a good moment in the film. You know what I mean? Like that was
Yeah.
a good moment, and then they immediately fucking ruin it.
No,
Like that's the
exactly.
thing that drives me nuts about this film. It's like there are good things that happen for sure.
Oh, yeah.
And then 10 seconds later,
like,
they
they undo it.
immediately fucking ruin it.
yeah.
like, and like,
Could you imagine?
Just
could you
give me
imagine-
fucking something.
So
give
no.
me something. Jeez.
Side pitch to the Chewbacca thing. So Chewbacca we think he dies, and we find out he's alive. Then Rey finds out he's alive. She goes to the ship, and he's just been turned into a rug. She's just too late. She's too late by like 5 minutes. And
Kylo's just sitting there in front of a fire, just like drinking a brandy with his Chewbacca rug,
he's lying on it in just like his black
with
thing
his high
and
pants.
low high pants.
That's a fan art somewhere. I'm certain of it. Somebody has done that image on DeviantArt. Jesus Christ.
It's amazing, right?
That's oh no, I'd be so sad, but I'd be laughing so hard.
Wookiee is the finest fur in the galaxy.
There's the idea.
That'd have been pretty great.
There's the
That'd have
idea
been
of
pretty
the
damn
perfect
great,
Kylo
man.
Ren.
My God.
You're welcome.
I just
Also, and again, this is a side note because we already talked about the lightsaber, but I also hate that they reassembled his helmet. Like,
nah, that didn't bug me as much. I like the helmet.
Well, because to me, like, I like the helmet too, but the whole thing at the beginning of that movie when he gets like dressed down by Snoke, and he basically just calls him a bitch for like pretending to be Darth Vader, and that's the beginning of his journey of like becoming his own individual. Is like he smashes that helmet.
No, but he smashes out of rage because his mentor was like crapping on him for it. And you could argue that journey through Last Jedi is him going back to like, no, this is who I want to be. So him bringing the helmet back is him being like, no, this is my identity. This is what I want to be.
But to me, that's just going backwards. Like, to me, he doesn't need to hide his face anymore. Like, this is who he is. He is the Dark Lord in his mind. You know? Like, he doesn't need the helmet anymore.
I get what you're both saying. Yeah.
Yeah.
Like, that, I loved when he smashed the helmet out of rage. That was so perfect.
Well, yeah, but he did it out of rage, not out of, like, a moment of, like, yeah, no, I'm comfortable with who I am.
Yeah, but by the end of the movie, that's who he is now. You know? He's come to that realization.
No, like, at the end of the movie, he becomes who he thought he was before.
I agree with, like, both your takes. Like, I can see it from both those point of view. I do feel like it is a little bit of a cheap out, because if he really was like, yeah, this is who I am now, like with the mask, right? Like, he would have reforged that thing right away. It's like, why wait?
Well, I mean, he didn't really have
2 or whatever.
In the timeline with Last Jedi, he didn't exactly have a lot of time in that movie.
Because you just can't...
No, not in The Last Jedi. I mean, like, in between the movies.
Like, the helmet should have just already been reforged.
Oh, and that's
what I'm saying.
So, like, the problem with Last Jedi and the problem with Rise of Skywalker is they did the opposite thing, where it's like, Last Jedi gave, like, almost too much of, like, a clear, this is the timeline. But it didn't make sense with the story that they told, that it's like, this is, like, right after. It didn't gel well. The timeline between episode 8 and 9 is cloudy at best. Like, we don't really know if has it been a few years, a few months. How long has it been?
Yeah.
And because of that, well, is he on Mustafar, like, right after, like, this is, like, within, like, days of his failure with stopping the Resistance, or is this months or years? Because I agree with that. I think if it's days after, that makes sense that he doesn't have his helmet.
Yeah,
cool.
Yeah, sure.
But again, it's very clear that
months.
It's very clear that time has passed because, again, Rey's been training.
Well, no, but the thing is, the question is, how much time has passed between him on Mustafar and the Rebels?
Right.
Right? Like, how much time passes? There's not a clear timeline, and that's where, like, with Star Wars, you don't need to give a specific timeline, but you need to give a rough idea or feel for how much time passes between the movies. And then everything that happens in that movie happens either simultaneously or at rapid succession of each other.
Yeah.
Like, that's just how Star Wars movies go. But even, like, the prequels struggle with timelines a little bit, too. There's a couple things where you don't really know how many days have passed or how much time is spent on each thing.
Well, because we don't really, like, because, again, in Revenge of the Sith, like, I'm assuming that Anakin finds out about his wife being pregnant relatively early on, but the way that the movie presents it, it feels like everything's happening, like, super quickly.
Well, yeah, because, like, at the time we see her, like, no one else knows she's pregnant. No one else is like, oh, man, Padme's pregnant.
So it seems like
the
it'd be
Jedi see her, and they can't detect that she's pregnant.
Yeah.
Well, listen, the Jedi can't detect jack shit in the prequels, so, like...
That's also fair.
I mean, arguably they can't detect jack shit in the sequels either, so...
we should tell people our ability to use the Force has been diminished. You think? Good Lord.
Our enemies will increase.
He's standing right here.
One of the other things I just really, like, found painful about this movie, and the one aspect I thought could have been, like, the redeeming factor is, like, the end of the film. Like, I was like, I was with it up till like she gets to Luke and whatever else, right? And I was like, you know what? If they can really nail this end with Palpatine, it'll be like, okay, I can deal with the rest of this stuff. If they have like a really, really, really like just a solid ending. And I just felt that ending was just again just a big waste of time.
Right.
Like it was just noise. Like there wasn't really anything impactful
Oh, you want
at all.
Well,
At least to me, at least to me.
We'll talk about noise in a bit when we get to the Emperor in the final battle.
In his
We're
dubstep
still
lightning
talking
the
about
dub-
this movie?
dubstep. God, I love the bass boost dubstep lightning so
Yeah.
much. It's so dumb, but I love it.
It's so dumb in like the most ridiculous way. Like it just it feels like I feel like Han Solo in The Force Awakens. Like that's not how the Force works.
Like it's
But, like the fact that it's so huge and the fact that
it
it
just
only
balloons out.
attacks
Yep.
like it only hits like the resistant ships. It's like,
every time I see
how does
that
that
now.
work?
Every time I see that now, I just play like I play Sandstorm in my head. Just
Oh yeah, I think I
Like-
saw that meme too. Yeah.
like it's so ridiculous. Like it's one of my favorite ridiculous Palpatine moments. I'll say that about this movie. But I liked before we get to like the very ending, one of the things I actually do like once again, and it actually kind of calls back to the Revenge of the Sith, but like the fight where Rey and Kylo have on the Death Star, where it's like almost an inverse of the fight in Revenge of the Sith on the lava, but now it's on water. I liked that idea, and I actually think it's a pretty solid fight scene. But then, like, you have the revelation of, like, Leia calling out Ben's name through the Force and then dying.
Yeah, that was a little ridiculous.
Yeah. And then,
I didn't really care for that fight scene though. Like I just thought it could have been like there's no music. Right? Like there's no music for a good chunk of that fight.
well, and again, it
Feels-
almost...
No, it's
odd.
there's music there, but you can't hear it over.
Are you
Because the
sure?
sound
Because
mix
I'm
is
pretty
terrible.
sure there's no music in at least a chunk of that fight.
But I was saying, I kind of appreciate that it didn't have music. But again, if you were going to have music for that fight, that would have been the moment when you, like, call back to the music. Like, what is it? What's the track called in Revenge of the Sith when Anakin and...
Battle of the Heroes.
Well, there's Anakin versus Obi-Wan, which is faster, and then there's Battle of the Heroes.
And then they
Which
do
is,
have
like,
a
the
bit
slightly
of...
slower one.
And they have a
See,
bit of Duel
and then
of Fates
stuff
in
in
there
between.
as well.
See, no, but like I'm tired. Like no, I'm tired of callback music tracks. I think at the end of the day, this movie should have leaned heavily on new original tracks.
I mean, like, I just think it should have had music in general, and that's like I just felt like in that part there should have been
I'm
music in
90%
general.
sure there's music there.
There is a bit of music in the second
There's
half of the
music
fight.
at the beginning. No, I think there's music at the beginning and the end, but there's like a big chunk in the middle where there ain't nothing but water, waves, and lightsabers.
I'm gonna have to
I like-
re-listen to it because
I
I'm
like
pretty
that,
sure.
though.
No, I'm pretty sure there's
I
music
did
going
not
on.
at all. I was like, there is something missing here.
I'm pretty sure there is music going on. It's just overpowered by the sound mix because
Hmm.
for some reason movies in the last like 4 years hate music. The soundtracks, the amount of soundtracks from the Marvel movies that people just like crap on that I've listened to, I'm like, no, these are great soundtracks, but you can't hear them in the movie. You have
Over
to
the
listen.
movie.
You have to listen to them separately. Like I was listening to the Rise of Skywalker soundtrack today before the podcast because I'm like I need to revisit just the soundtrack, and it's a good soundtrack. You just never hear the tracks. You never hear them in the movie because the way that George Lucas liked it and the way a lot of Hollywood guys used to like it is like dialogue, then music, then sound effects.
Yeah.
Now, and like that changes every once in a while because like sometimes the sound effects is more important, right? Like
And depends how impactful your music is. When you got John Williams, it's like that's
Yeah.
top notch music, man.
one, if you have like say you have a swell of some kind of strings and a lightsaber ignites, well the lightsaber sound effect does need to go like basically be part of that swell of strings. They need to be on the same level. Nowadays, for music mix or for sound mixes, they go like dialogue and then sound effects and then music at the very bottom. And it's just not priority, which is a shame because like why write it then? Why have music in there if you're just going to turn it down?
Ridiculous.
Yeah.
Like, at the end of the day, like, and because again, you've explained to me, like, there's a lot of unused shit.
So apparently John Williams wrote, like, is it 40 hours or 4 hours? He wrote a ridiculous amount of music for Rise of Skywalker.
I feel like I love John Williams. I feel like the answer is 4 hours. Like, he probably wrote 4 hours.
I'll have to look into it. He wrote, or was it 40 tracks? He wrote a lot of music for Rise of Skywalker, and basically the music editor looked at it as like, we'll use 3 of these, but people want to hear the old music. And so they scrapped a lot of it. But, like, a lot of the new tracks really shine through.
Mm.
Like, there are some really good new tracks that are amazing.
You know what? That is the one thing that's consistent across the trilogy. The only thing, the music of the new trilogy is actually really good.
Across
I
a lot
disagree
of the
with Last
themes-
Jedi.
I would say across the entire
No, man.
saga.
Last Jedi's got some dope
There's no new music.
man.
It's all the same stuff.
Pretty sure Luke has, like, Luke's theme is new.
No, apparently, it's like, so the story is, because I looked into this, because I bought the soundtrack, I listened to it, I'm like, this is, okay, what's going on? Like, this doesn't sound anything different than Force Awakens does. Basically what happened was Rian Johnson sat down, did a temp track with all previous, like, John Williams music, and this one random thing that they used for Canto Bight, and just emailed it to John Williams and said, do this. Didn't do a spotting session, didn't think about anything new, and John Williams, as a composer, he loves doing spotting sessions, he likes to sit down and, like, figure out what are we going for. And no, Rian Johnson was like, threw away an opportunity to get to work with John Williams on something and just said, nope, do what you've done a billion times already.
Yeah, I
And,
don't
like,
know.
and-
I haven't heard that, but
Yeah, like,
I'm just saying, like, there's a lot of music and a lot of themes, whether it's from Force Awakens and
Like,
then
the
it's
music
brought
is
into
still
The Last
good,
Jedi. I don't
like-
care. My point is, the music across the trilogy is still John Williams.
Yeah,
Oh,
At the end of the
100%,
day.
like-
And it's still solid. Like, it's not like one of them just had, like, random, like, just terrible music.
yeah.
Like, if anything was any sort of consistent across that trilogy, it was the music.
Well, again, across
Oh, yeah,
the
well, 'cause,
entire
like-
saga, like, John
Look,
Williams is the MVP
Oh,
of
yeah,
that entire
100%,
series.
yeah.
I can't complain too much about John Williams doing more of the same stuff, because, like, I own how many versions of, like, Empire on vinyl, and
Yeah.
like I have multiple Star Wars vinyls of the same songs, and they all sound great. Like, they're all good music. Like, it's
Yeah. Well, no, like, I think the Luke thing's different, right? It's like, ba, 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 ba. No, I guess that one's also in Force Awakens at the very end.
but,
that's
like-
they reused
But I like,
all.
I like the
old
one where,
themes.
like, Luke's coming out on crate, though. That one's good. It's like, like, it's more of like
Yeah.
it's got the beat to it. Like, it's like the same theme. Like, boom, da 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 boom, ba da da boom, ba da da boom, 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 ba da da boom, ba da da boom, ba da da boom, 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 boom.
I like the
boom.
really, like,
Like, when he's, like, coming out of there, it's pretty dope.
I like the kind of subtle build up to it as well. That
Yeah,
feels
it is
almost
really
like
good.
a Western. Like, I like
Yeah,
that stuff too.
yeah.
Like, it's just the way the music is used as well. It's just consistent throughout. But yeah, no, I would agree with that. I like yeah, like, it's one of those things. And again, a lot of people talk about, like, when Luke showed up, it says, the Luke's appearance is just a big fu to Rian Johnson, how he acts. He's acting like Luke. It's just like, he's acting exactly like Luke should, given what happened in Last Jedi, because that was his arc. His arc was becoming Luke Skywalker again. That was the
Again,
whole
yeah.
goddamn point.
That was the whole point.
So yes,
Yeah.
of course he's going to be more the Luke Skywalker we know. That was the point of his damn arc.
No,
Yeah, I
he
was
should
okay with
be
that, yeah.
exactly how I liked him being. Blah, blah, blah.
That was
Skywalker.
that was the one retcon. Like, one thing people were
I wanted him to
labeling a
haunt
retcon.
Kylo, man. I thought he was just gonna be like haunting Kylo's ass all day, but
Yeah, well
there's
that's
not enough time for that.
yeah. And like at the end of the day, like it might be a bit truncated, but like that scene between him and Han, like bringing Harrison Ford back for that scene.
I
like,
love that scene.
That was a really good scene.
That was a good call. That was a really, really, really good call.
Especially like again with the loss of Carrie Fisher, that was probably the best way they could have handled that. And
Although I swear to God that they totally had Mark Hamill say the "Hey kid." I swear that sounds like Mark. If you listen to that line, "Hey kid,"
Hey,
that
kid.
sounds like Mark Hamill doing a
Harrison Ford impression.
Yeah.
Yeah, it could have been. Who knows?
And then there's that.
I think the
Oh,
last
Harrison,
thing
we need you to come in and do some redubbing. No, you already got me in the movie. I'm not coming in to dub my dialogue.
Have you seen that?
just
meme?
grumpy old man.
Or have you seen that joke, like that one clip where Kylo throws his lightsaber into the water and then General Grievous dives in after it?
Another
No, I
fine
haven't.
addition to my collection.
Aha!
Ah. It's so good.
Shit, that would have been hilarious.
Oh, dude, it's
Totally out of place, but
They
funny
threw
as
everything
shit.
else in there. General Grievous.
That would have been my favorite part of the movie. A fine addition to my collection.
so.
The last thing that I like out of all the things that like drive me nuts about this film, this isn't the worst thing, but it is annoying, is like the whole I am all the Jedi and I am all the Sith bit at the end. Like it's just
I am
like
all
bro.
the Sith.
And I am all the Jedi. Double lightsaber.
See, and like
was
I think the line exchange should have been I am the Sith, and then her
and
response
I
being
am
like
the Jedi.
no, not
That
not
would've
the
made-
Jedi, but her saying and I am a Jedi.
And a Jedi. That would have made way more sense, guy.
Right?
Than like I am all the Jedi. I
Because,
am
like-
all the Sith.
Because if you look at it even from the philosophical perspective, being all the Sith, 100%, like
That's
I
exactly
am the
how-
Sith, that's what Palpatine wants. I
Yep.
am the Sith.
Yeah.
I am
Whereas,
all
like-
the Sith.
Rey just being like, I am a Jedi, just that's more within the philosophical line. Being like,
Of the,
I am one
of the Jedi.
I am one of many, not I am the.
Yeah.
Because it just
And it's just like that whole scene's ridiculous. Like one thing that it disappointed me. Like I want like a big standoff with Palpatine, but it was such a slot. Like it was such a bore fest. Like nothing happened.
Well, that's what
And
happens
I get
when
like
you make your
Ian
final
McDermott
boss.
can't like he's old and shit. That's fine, but it's like stunt double that shit in then. Like there's no reason he shouldn't have had like at least some lightsabers. Like let's like do something, man. But it was just like, how about I lightning you and you shoot it back at me and I kill myself? Or technically, did she kill him?
This
And isn't
didn't
that
work
what
with
he
Mace
wanted?
Windu.
Isn't that what he wanted the whole damn time? Is for her to kill him? Like I'm just like,
yeah, like
But she killed
that
him
technically
out of
count?
necessity.
yeah, like he like that's yeah, that whole thing. We're just like yeah, then
and like why would Palpatine want her to be the like
again,
the Sith Empress?
like again,
like,
Palpatine's
Palpatine's always been about him being in power.
well,
not
that's the
anybody
thing.
else.
I
You don't
feel
care.
like it's like he wanted to transfer his consciousness into her body, but again, it's like okay, so how is her killing you out of hatred going to do that?
Like, and that was my like that's my point, because it's not like kill me out of hatred, become the Empress and rule the galaxy. Because number one, Palpatine's never been about anyone else having power but him.
Yeah, exactly.
B, if it was about transferring him, then any death should do. Like,
Yeah. He should.
So lightning yourself in the face should have worked.
Yeah, like why does it matter?
don't
Like
know.
I guess maybe she has to be more susceptible to being possessed by Satan Emperor. I don't know.
Yeah.
Like
I don't know, man. But or the double lightsabers, like that's so if you got two of those bad boys, that is possession protection.
yeah.
Yeah.
But then like yeah, the whole air fight on Exegol there. Good lord. There's so much going on. Like there's some like fun set pieces, like again when they bring the horses, like the space horses onto the ship. Like that was kind of fun and unique. That was a different thing. They're not using speeders. What? And there's just a bunch of horses come out of the transport. Like, all right.
Yeah.
It was like,
What are those things? I've been raised in captivity my whole life.
and that wasn't terrible. But yeah, and then what's Poe's line when he like finally gives up hope?
I don't know.
And then Lando's like, but there are more of us, Poe. And then he comes up and there's like 10,000 ships.
And suddenly all of his friends who died don't matter anymore.
And suddenly the whole galaxy
The
showed
whole
up.
damn galaxy showed up
Again,
to
if
kick
you're talking about timelines, doesn't work at all. By the time Lando would have to get to every system, convince them all to join, and then get a fleet all together, and then get to Exegol, which is like outside the rim or whatever. It's like
I was saying to
like the timeline of that is not like slip space isn't instantaneous, but okay.
I was saying to Prosper that like in amidst those ships, I half expected to see like Chevy Chase and his family from vacation
van?
films, just like
Yeah,
roll it
yeah.
up.
Roll them up.
Yeah, that would have been hilarious.
Although that being said too, people complaining about the light speed skipping is so dumb. Like
Yeah,
like people
that didn't bug me.
yeah,
Like I didn't care. I was
Well,
like,
like
whatever.
So like theoretically, like looking at Last Jedi, that is something that carries over because they were able to track them through light speed.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So he kept trying to skip in order to try and lose them because the First Order now had the technology to track through light speed.
Yeah.
That made sense technically if you look at what it's connected to the last film. But people being like, but I've never seen that in a previous Star Wars film, therefore
There's a lot
it
of
can't
shit
exist.
you don't see it.
That's
It's like, shut up!
No, that's a terrible reasoning.
You know the amount of
It'd be
stuff
like,
that we didn't see in a Star Wars film that we saw in the prequels?
Do you know the amount of shit we've seen in a Star Wars thing that we didn't see in A New Hope? So, like, technically, all that shit doesn't exist. Is that what you're saying? That's what you're saying right now.
There's a
they're
video.
fine.
Yeah,
Go ahead.
There's a video that's like basically it's somebody like I think it's like Mr. Sunday Movies or something where he's complaining about like the newest Star Wars movie and he keeps going back to like the one that came out before and complaining about it and then being like the last one was better but also I hate that one because it wasn't the original but also screw the original. I want a Flash Gordon cereal. It's just like that's what it feels like sometimes. It's just a feedback loop of people complaining about new shit.
I mean, I don't know. Honestly, like, I don't really like complaining that much, but there are certain movies that get, just get me annoyed. Cause, and you know what about this movie? It's like all the individual things we talked about. It's like, at the end of the day, it's what we said at the beginning. The thing that annoys me the most is there was never a plan.
Yeah.
Like, listen, if there's a plan and it wasn't as, executed as well as it could have, you can forgive that because at least the plan keeps shit together.
Exactly.
But the whole fact that there was never any clue or idea what was going on, it's like that's the thing that frustrates me. It's not the frustrating part that it's bad. The frustrating part is you didn't put the effort in to make it good. That's the frustrating part to me.
That's what you need.
You just, as creators, as people who are paid a lot of effing money to do this, didn't put in the effort to make it. You did what you could, I guess, but you didn't do what you need to do at the beginning, and that's the frustrating part.
I still lay a lot of the blame with the fans though, because again, so the same fans who complain, like what we were just talking about.
No, man. I disagree. Fans are the worst, 100%. But as a studio head and as directors, as films, it's not your job to listen to the fans.
But at the same time,
it's not your job. It's like an old sports saying, coaches, right? If you listen to the fans, you're destined to be sitting with them next season. That's same idea.
That's fair, but again, fans hold the power right now. They do, unfortunately.
Only if people listen to them.
No, because if you don't listen to them, they don't buy the tickets and they don't go to the movie.
Yeah, they'll still go. You put Star Wars in that shit, they will go see it unless you specifically tell them to quit bitching. And if you don't like it, don't see our movie. Because then they specifically won't go see your movie. But if you put Star Wars in it, they'll go. They complain about it every time, but they'll go.
Although I will counter with Solo because that movie didn't do well, but also they put it out between Infinity War and Deadpool 2. So
also, I think Solo's a different case because it's not like people weren't like, "Oh, you didn't do what we wanted with Solo." It was a whole fact of nobody asked for Solo. No one was interested from the first place. I think that's a little bit of a different case.
A lot of people asked for Solo, but they just wanted Harrison Ford.
That doesn't even make sense.
Dude, honestly, 90% of the complaints I heard about Solo before it came out was the casting of who they picked for young Harrison Ford.
But again,
most people were like, "Oh, he doesn't look like Harrison Ford, therefore he shouldn't play it." And it's that's a dumb reason for someone not to play a part.
There is 90% of the complaints I heard for that movie were
I'm saying before it dropped, before it came out.
Yeah.
I'm saying before and after, man. Like I never heard people talking about shit. Like,
No,
whatever
like,
my
I've
circles
always-
were, like we're obviously different circles, but
like,
people were not talking about.
well, because people love
I did not hear that a lot.
people love the Han Solo trilogy in the books, right? And they're like, "Ooh, I'd love to see that brought into a film. They should adapt that." And then they kind of, sort of did, kind of, sort of didn't.
Yeah. Well, because
it was a niche crowd from the sounds of it, anyway.
Yeah. But like, I mean, I ended up liking that movie quite a bit.
Yeah,
At the end of the
it wasn't
day.
terrible.
Yeah, I enjoyed
It wasn't terrible.
It is not the worst Star Wars film made.
No.
Yeah. But anyways, we're not talking about Solo.
We're not talking about Rogue One either.
I just think about. I was like, man, this is. I was just complaining, like, oh, that double lightsaber lightning thing. I'm like, that was so stupid, or whatever. And then I just had a flashback of me, like, I remember when the last Harry Potter movie came out, and like Harry Potter's doing like the wand lightning bolt off with like Voldemort, and that second, like, he like gets Voldemort's wand like up in the air and he grabs it. I was expecting in that movie for him to be like, "Whoa!" Like double wand, like zap Voldemort, and then like Voldemort just disappeared. I was like, well, that was anticlimactic. So apparently, there's no pleasing me, man. You either double wanded, double saber. Either if you do or don't, I don't like it. Apparently. Oh shit! It wasn't the fact that it was the saber. I guess it was just how it was all executed. But
I liked like again, I like conceptually the way they did Kylo being redeemed and coming to the good side, and then John Williams doing like the heroic version of his theme. All that stuff was pretty cool, and him like taking on the knights and stuff. I enjoyed that. But then like again, they build up Rey and Kylo teaming up to fight the Emperor, and then he just curb stops both of them immediately.
yeah, that's what I mean, man. It was just like, bruh.
Yeah.
Again, like you set up cool, like that's the thing about this movie, right? Whether it's tension or like cool moments, you set up cool shit, but then you immediately ruin it, and it's like,
Yep.
why are you doing this to me over and over again?
No.
Why are you doing this to me?
Yeah.
And like overall, I don't like Kylo's redemption like as an idea, but I think it's what works with this film.
That's
You
the
know what I
thing.
mean?
Like at the end of
Kylo's redemption, like Kylo not being redeemed, would work better if he was the central antagonist. That would, like if you're continuing on from Last Jedi.
Yeah.
Whereas he's not, so it works. It works for this film.
they had to bring in a bigger asshole than Kylo to like help sell his redemption, basically. But it's like if you're going to, and this has been my big thing with this movie and this trilogy, it's like, if you're going to redeem him, then let him live. If you're gonna just commit to him being like, I want to be the biggest bad guy in the galaxy, then go ahead and kill him. Like,
yeah.
Because to me, like, if you're doing what they did, they just did Vader again. And that's the problem. And that's the disappointing thing is, like, whenever they veered off from, like, Kylo trying not to recreate Vader, that's when I really started to enjoy his character. And then they just...
For sure, yeah.
And then they just leaned into it hard at the end. It's just like, okay, I guess you could do that. But how much more narrative potential is there if you let Kylo live? And, like, him and Rey are, like, the last two, and it's like... they kind of have that balance, in starting the new Jedi Order. Like,
well, like, yeah, like I thought, yeah, that would have been way better. And like Finn's a Force sensitive, right? Mm-hmm. That's what he was trying to tell her the whole time.
Yeah, but never did.
That was kind of like hinted at, though. It was never like actually said, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, but it's something.
Or did he actually?
It was something that was apparently intended since Force Awakens, but then he got sidelined for Last Jedi.
Yeah.
So.
And then he didn't really do anything though, even in like it's not like they all did stuff.
The Force.
Again, they were just. I agree with you when you say it's like an and then like they were just doing stuff. They weren't doing anything like actually like, significant to that aspect. But yeah, I mean Finn, yeah, he did fight Kylo Ren with a lightsaber.
Yep.
Like, not everyone can do that.
Yeah, like, and again, like, he got his ass kicked as he probably should have been. But, like, he still held his own for a bit.
Yeah. And Kylo was injured, too. That helps.
But... exactly. Again, just
I agree. I honestly, at the end of the day, like my favorite character in the whole sequel trilogy is Kylo Ren.
Yep.
Like I think overall he's the most consistent as
It
far as like
should have been
quality and stuff
Finn.
goes.
Finn should have been
Um,
everyone's favorite. Finn
Oh,
had
yeah.
so
Yeah,
much potential.
I don't disagree. I don't disagree with that. Like I freaking I love Finn in 7, and then after that I was like, I guess I don't care because apparently the writers don't care.
And John
But-
Boyega acted the crap out of it for all 3 movies.
He did, yeah. But like,
100%.
yeah, I think Kylo Ren was just the most interesting, and it would have been better if they took him in a different direction at the end, or even still just let him stay bad. Like I was totally bought in. Like Kylo's committed to being evil, man. He's like, roll into that base and kill everyone. I know my mom's in there, but I don't give a shit
Yeah.
anymore.
Well, and like that's
Kill them all.
that's why like
That's when I was like, oh damn, this guy's bad.
Yeah.
I love it.
well, and that's why like I honestly thought what the whole thing was going to be was Kylo was going to look for like because they showed off like the old like the Death Star and all that jazz. Like I honestly thought that like Kylo was going to seek out like the Force essence of the Emperor and like he was gonna be a Force ghost, and it would basically be him trying to like absorb the essence of the Emperor to gain more power in the dark side. And then basically would ultimately lead to like the Emperor being resurrected through Kylo. I thought that's what was gonna happen, and instead just the Emperor's alive. It's like, all right,
He's just there.
it's all right, cool, that's cool,
Yeah.
it's fine.
I
then-
don't know. I still like talking about Star Wars though. Like it's always
Oh,
just
yeah.
like it's still just Ethan's right. Like at the end of the day, it's still Star Wars. So
Right? Like even Star
I
Wars
guess
at
I'll
its
take it, man.
Star Wars at its
Better
worst
than
is-
Transformers 5.
Star Wars at its worst is almost always better than Star Wars not Star Wars at all.
Not Star Wars.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Still a fun time, still a fun space opera. Like at the end of the day, you got your core trilogy that's still solid, and then there's 6 other movies that at the end of the day are just still fun to watch for various reasons.
Yep.
And like yeah, like and I think that's why Star Wars keeps going because it's Star Wars, man. Like,
Yep.
The movies are like there are movies that like should have probably stopped any more movies from being made, but it's like it's Star Wars, man.
Like after Rise of Skywalker, like I'm pretty sure everybody was like, pretty sure. Oh yeah, Star Wars is dead. This is the end. It's not gonna continue. And lo and behold, Mandalorian like still going strong, and it's starting to produce. Like other shows are coming off of it, and people are excited for those. We're getting Obi-Wan
Yeah.
Kenobi. Like the property.
Dude, I'm hyped for the Obi-Wan movie.
Yeah, like it could take a massive
series.
Yeah, man. It's friggin' Obi-Wan. I mean, of course I'm excited. But like the Star Wars is a series that like can take a massive hit and still come back strong, you know?
Yeah.
Like it has that kind of staying power. So at the end of the day, like I don't think for better or worse, Star Wars ain't going away anytime soon. Like
No.
it might not be like
And I think it'll be mainly on Disney Plus, right? Like it's mainly going to be TV stuff for a lot of it. Like, I don't know when we're going to get our next movie.
yeah.
It was supposed to be Rogue Squadron, but that got delayed till further notice kind of thing. Like
Yep.
Yep. And then yeah, because
So-
Taika Waititi's supposed to be doing a movie as well, and
yeah,
nobody's
Kevin Feige's putting together a movie, but those are a long ways off. Like those are a ways off. Like
Yeah.
there's nothing immediate coming out. Like I'm
Well-
not saying there won't be any movies period, but
they're,
for the
they're gonna take a break.
recent future, it's definitely going to be more TV Disney Plus stuff, and that's been successful. Mandalorian was freaking great,
Yeah, man.
and I'm looking forward to all their other shows apparently. But those are still going to be a lot of those shows are still going to be years out. But tomorrow is like Disney Plus show, like Disney Plus Day as well. So we'll probably get some more new announcements and updates on those things. So
Yep.
that'll be fun.
Oh, 100%. Yeah, no.
I mean, at the time this comes out, that already happened, but yeah.
Well, I think we're getting actually, I want to say we're getting an Obi-Wan trailer tomorrow, if I heard correctly.
We might be, yeah.
Yeah, which that could be cool. But no, like at the end of the day, Star Wars is still cool in my book. It's got its ups, it's got its downs, but it's still Star Wars.
Yeah.
That's
You hear that music and your heart still goes beating, man.
oh yeah, still
Gene Simmons is apparently throwing shade at any of his fans who are unvaccinated.
Classic.
His exact quote to anti-vaxxers: "If you are willing to walk among us unvaccinated, you are an enemy."
Jesus Christ.
Oh, that's pretty hardcore.
That's pretty, yeah.
I mean, people are getting sick. I mean, like, I know we're on a podcast, whatever. People are getting sick of that shit, though. Like, people are like, bro, get vaccinated, man. Like, and I've said this before. I'm like, listen, if there's people who medically can't get vaccinated, that's different.
Yeah.
There's people who like really don't want to, but like they're doing the 6 foot, they're wearing masks, like they're putting all the effort in. Then I'm like, I don't have beef with you. It's the people who are like, I don't want to get vaccinated. I don't want to wear masks. I don't want to keep 6 feet distance. I want to go do whatever the hell I want.
Life
and I'm
needs
gonna
to go back to the way I want it to.
Like, I don't care. Life should just be the way it was before the pandemic. It's like, yeah, we want that, but like, you're making it harder to get there, bro.
Oh.
Anyway, that was my mini rant on that.
Yep.
But to say they're enemies seems like it's pretty hardcore. But yeah, people are
Sounds
starting
like-
to get getting sick of that
It's
shit.
I'm not complaining.
It's a rock and roll thing to say.
I think it's.
It is very Gene Simmons.
Yeah, man.
I think it's
Feels very Gene
beneficial. I think it'll hopefully scare some people.
Indeed.
Yeah, Gene Simmons like, I will find you.
Oh my god, the demon told me to get vaccinated.
I will. That sounds like everything that like Christians will use.
Oh right. Oh no.
The demon told me to get vaccinated.
Oh no, he made it worse.
Oh my god, Gene Simmons, you
Oh no,
doomed
he
us
just
all.
made it worse.
Well, if the demon told me to do it, then I definitely
man.
can't do it.
Oh my god.
Yeah.
Anyone have a question of the day?
That's a good question.
So did you like Star Wars Episode 9?
Well enough.
Isn't that the question of the day? Isn't that the question?
I liked it well enough. I didn't hate it, didn't love it.
Yeah, I'm pretty
Pretty neutral.
I'm pretty middle of the road, leaning towards negative, but overall there's still things I enjoy about it. But overall
And I am-
it's just a lot of nonsense, but it's fine.
And I am super negative. Like, there are good things. I admit there are good moments, good scenes.
Yep.
I just feel like the movie instantly ruins them 10 seconds later most of the time.
Yes.
So I am like pretty negative.
It's
I mean, I'm interested to actually. I did want to watch before this podcast. Never got a chance. I was just too busy. But I do want to watch it again one day and just like can I just turn my brain off and ignore everything?
just
And
just
just
kind of
like
take it for what it is.
Like the first time I watched it, absolutely hated it. The second time I watched it, I'm like, okay, this isn't as bad as the first time. So like, will the third time be the charm where I say, you know what, it is better than Attack of the Clones, or it's not like the very, very worst. But I don't know.
Hard to
I'd
say.
be interested to see. I just don't know if I want to commit the time.
It's a long one too. It's 2 hours and 22 minutes. So
yeah, that's what I'm saying. It's just like,
Yeah.
we'll see.
Well, I guess actually, what could be a fun question of the day, if you were put in charge of like this one movie, and they were like, all right, you're in charge of remaking one of the 9 Skywalker saga movies. Which one do you remake?
9.
Oh my.
9. Like, listen, like 8 had its flaws, but I do think 9, like if you go at it from a different direction, I think there are places to go after 8. I think there are I think the whole, you have to keep the core of the story in mind, which is really a lot of this conflict between Kylo Ren and Rey, right? Like that's really a lot of the heart of this new trilogy.
Yeah.
And like I think there's potential. Like you got the First Order that's literally taken over the galaxy. Like the Republic got blown up, so I guess they're the controlling factor. Like there are options. I think some of the options they had in the other script, Duel of the Fates, were really weird too. It's like I think you need to take it in a less weird way, and more of like a just practical Star Wars.
Yeah.
Kind of Return of the Jedi way. Like it's time to free the galaxy, and have that Kylo Rey battle to end it all. Man, like it's just, I would remake 9, and I'd take it a completely different direction.
Do your choices affect any of the other movies that came out?
No, essentially, your movie would just be like, you're taking out like the puzzle piece that was there, and you're putting in yours, and it still has to.
No, because that's a stupid question. Because the answer is always going to be 9, because it's the one you can do whatever you want with.
Not necessarily.
100%. You have more
There's-
freedom.
Well, yeah, you do have more freedoms, but like that's part of the challenge.
Because no matter what you do to 8, 9 is still going to be the mess that it is.
Yeah.
Same thing with episode 1. I've talked about what I would change for episode 1, and that was going to be my answer, but it still leads into Attack of the Clones.
Not necessarily. There ain't a whole lot about Attack of the Clones that like you couldn't ignore from Phantom Menace.
No, that's what I'm saying. If I make Phantom Menace, it's still Attack of the Clones is the same.
He's
you're
asking
saying.
if like the movie you
Like,
remake is gonna have
Would that
like
impact
a
what
ripple
happens
effect.
after?
Yeah.
Because I can change episode 1
If
all
you
I
if you
want.
change
That's what I'm
episode
saying.
1, does it change all
That's
three?
like you're remaking one movie. Like it's,
Yeah, but that's a stupid question.
it's still got to fit in the challenge is it's got to still fit in the canon.
No, but that's stupid rules because again,
I think it's
the only
fun.
one that the only one to change would be episode 9 because you try to change the ending.
I disagree. I think you could.
Which one would you change?
I would change Attack of the Clones, and I would.
What would you do? What would be
I'd
different?
make it a good movie, and that would.
I would
I'd
just
have
make it good.
I'd have 100% more Christopher Lee, and
Yes.
I'd bump up that Django. I'd basically make it way more Obi-Wan centric.
See, I want
and
to
less
change.
pervy, creepy stuff.
See, but
Yeah,
again, in order for that to take effect, you need to change episode 1.
Not necessarily.
It would be really jarring otherwise.
It would be jarring that the follow-up is a good movie.
It would be jarring because the main focus was on Anakin as a child, and now it's like, oh, we're
Is
not
it
even
really?
paying-
Like, because at the end of the day, I always feel like the main character of that movie is kind of Qui-Gon, and then it falls into
Into
Obi-Wan.
no, it falls into Anakin.
Not like
100% it falls into Anakin.
he's barely in the movie.
no,
Aside,
he isn't. As
I
soon
would
as,
say it's an ensemble piece.
as
like-
soon as he
like,
shows up, he's in
there's
most
multiple.
of it.
Yeah, that's like. I mean, at the end of the day, that's one of the main problems
Also,
Phantom
no,
Menace has.
the entire movie, the entire premise of Phantom Menace existing
but what
was
Is Anakin.
is
But
Anakin.
what about-
it's specifically showing
But
that
what about Phantom Menace directly affects what is in the next movie? Like in reality, like
I mean,
like,
Qui-Gon dies,
yes, Qui-Gon could still be dead. What next?
Padme and Anakin's weird relationship.
How is it?
That would still
They're,
exist.
they no because they
Just
haven't
less creepy.
They haven't seen each other in years, so really you could do whatever the hell you want with
No,
that
because you have to.
relationship.
And
No,
I
because
actually
you have
I
to
agree
lead-
with I agree with Prosser because there's a 10-year gap between episode 1 and episode 2, which
Yeah,
But
like,
that's
like
what I'm-
leaves him to
they're
put in
pretty much
like
different
it's
characters.
really almost like its own standalone section.
But that's-
except leading into 3. Like, but it leads into the Clone Wars where tons of shit happens.
But that's
in
what I'm
between
saying is the problem with
I think yeah.
the problem with episode 2 though is again their relationship is still weird and creepy, no matter how you slice it.
exactly, which is why you do it.
You could
better.
just communicate it in a better way than what was communicated. That's all I'm saying.
I'm saying you
Doesn't
can
make
do
it less
that,
creepy.
but you
You
can
just
set it up
execute it in
better,
a less creepy way.
Does it-
or you can set it up better in episode 1,
I suppose,
which
so.
I've
Well,
discussed in previous.
But then
podcasts.
it's still Attack
Yes.
of the Clones, and Anakin still sounds like a super.
Oh,
huge
and that's why I'm
creeper.
saying his question is dumb because it should ripple effect.
This isn't butterfly effect. This is just taking out a puzzle piece and replacing it with a different one. It's
Then
fine.
my answer is none. I wouldn't do that because it's like you can't just
well,
replace
that's
one.
that's no fun.
You can't just replace a film.
Ethan, you can't just not answer the question of the day. That's anarchy.
I did answer the question of the day by saying it was a dumb question.
Ethan, that's
I don't think it's dumb, Prosser. I think it was okay.
Stop
Ethan,
pandering,
Ethan, Ethan,
I'm not pandering.
Ethan, if I can give caramel apples a second chance, I think you could give this
Did
question.
you enjoy the caramel apple that you ate?
Yeah, it wasn't bad. It was still like it took me forever to eat because it's awkward. It's an awkward snack. I'm sorry, it's still awkward. It's just it doesn't taste bad.
Is it awkward or are you awkward?
I am awkward, but so is the caramel
That
apples.
seems, yeah,
You
that
don't know
seems
how to
more
handle
accurate.
a stick, huh?
How dare you? Anyway, the point is Attack of the Clones is crap, and it continues to be crap, which is why I would replace it with a better movie. So there you go. That's my answer. That's the whole reason I asked this question. So it's all good.
Oh, I'd remake Rogue One.
That's not a Skywalker
Did
series.
you say Skywalker?
I did.
Oh, okay. I still remake Rogue One.
Would you would you remake it as part of the Skywalker series?
I'd have it actually like intertwine with them and not just be a one-off where everyone dies.
Oh, wow.
But that's a discussion for a different video.
I guess so. All right.
Yeah, Ethan really dislikes Rogue One, and I'm like, I don't think it was that bad.
I'm
I feel like Rogue One is going to be the antithesis to this episode.
yeah.
That's what I feel like.
Like I feel like I feel.
Oh, don't worry. I have points. I wrote a full email to someone explaining why I disliked Rogue One.
Oh, God. Do I even have that much time in my life? I don't know. We'll see. We'll see if I make it to that episode. I might just retire after
Welcome
this one, to
to-
be honest.
welcome
Like,
to a feast
we
of-
made it to 9.
wel-
See you guys.
Welcome to a feast of films. Discuss Rogue One Part 3 of 5.
And another thing I didn't like about it,
It's not worse than this movie, though.
I feel like
I would disagree.
I feel like I need.
It's not worse than
I
this
feel
movie.
I feel like I need to be on that episode just to referee you two.
It is not worse than episode 9. There's no way it is worse than 9.
I think it is.
Like, I'm not saying it's the best Star Wars movie out there ever, period, but it is not worse than 9.
Yep. It is
No.
worse than 9.
No.
Well, that is a story, a good question for another time.
No. 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 All right, guys, this has been episode 50 of A Feast of Films. It was a great time talking about Star Wars. Got a little heated, had a little fun. Apparently, the next one that's going to get a little crazy is Rogue One, so make sure you hop on by for that episode in another year and a half when we get to that. But hopefully it won't take that long, seeing it's literally the next movie we'll probably talk about as far as Star Wars goes. So it shouldn't take a year and a half, but maybe we'll need a break after this. I don't know. Prosser, where can the good people find you?
You can find me on YouTube at that Jesse Prosser. You can find me on Instagram under that J Prosser, and you can find mine and Ethan's film Damned Rights at realhouse.org. Buy it, rent it, give it a watch.
What's your YouTube again?
Jesse Prosser.
Not that Jesse Prosser?
No, that Jesse Prosser is my Instagram. I usually start with my Instagram, so I started saying my Instagram for my YouTube, and it just became a jumbled mess. So yes, YouTube Jesse Prosser, Instagram that J Prosser. Go watch my movie. It's
Your
a
movie?
good time. It's partially my movie.
I don't think so.
Plug your shit, Ethan.
Where can the people find you?
I'm gonna go eat some cheese. You can find me on Instagram at Ethan
just
R.
why?
Hill. You can find me.
Just why, Lord? Why?
Mario.
You can find me on YouTube at Ethan R. Hill, and you can find mine and Jesse Prosser's feature film Damned Rights at realhouse.org.
I'm pretty sure I was there too, wasn't I?
No, you were in Quantum Snowflakes.
Yes.
No, I was in the night. You just couldn't see me.
Oh my God.
Just in the dark.
Yes, go watch our movie. Give it a support. If you watch it, you can mark down that you watched it on Letterboxd.
Yes.
We found that recently.
Yes, go on Letterboxd, look up Damned Rights, and give it a rating and a review. We're gonna shoot to the top of Letterboxd.
We only accept 5-star ratings.
It's very true.
Yes, we're very elite.
I couldn't even give us a 5-star rating, but you can.
He felt guilty.
I'm humble, so
I'd give us a 5-star rating.
right? Now, Matt, where can the people find you?
Oh, you can find me on any of your other favorite podcast apps or at gamingnightradio.com for the podcast Gaming Night Radio. I just put up a review for the Guardians of the Galaxy game. It is awesome. Go check out the review. It was a lot of fun. And yeah, other than that, though, that's it for us. A Feast of Films, another Star Wars edition, episode 50. Here's to another year and a half of episodes of A Feast of Films with Jesse Prosser
Oh.
and Ethan R. Hill and Matt R. Ayalew. Have a good night, everyone.
So long.
Bye-bye.
Toodaloo.
Yeah.
Da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da.
Boo, Prosser, boo.